see. Yo, Nally. Hello. Wait, Nalik. Wait, I'm literally blind, bro. What's up, Nalik? Hello. You're getting past on the leaderboard? Wait, speaking of leaderboard, let me go check it out real quick. Oh my god, bro. 40 win. Alright. Wait, what? What the fuck? No, 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 no. There we go. Probably Nick. Grandpa Gamer 12. Also, I thought X-ray was like heavily disabled. It is. It's like not allowed. Well, are you X-raying? It's MH, bro. Wait, where's my phone at? Oh, there it is. Let me turn my AC on, bro. Ba, 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 ba. But yeah, I mean, my latest video, like I literally kill a X-ray. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like when my name comes up first. Yo, young gamer, what's up, man? Yeah, I'll do the same thing. Damn, they really looted everything. Nah, Wheeler Hide. Nah, bro. Nah, bro.
Bro, get out of my...
Get out of my swamp, bro.
This is mine.
Nah, bro, it's my swamp.
Someone took, like, all the good stuff, though. I'm not gonna lie.
What'd it have? What'd it have? What'd it have?
I don't know. I only checked my own chest.
Oh, well, I got, like, 9 iron sword.
Bro, I only got, like, 13 gold.
Are you the highest in the room right now? Because I am.
What do you mean highest?
Yeah, well, you wouldn't get it.
Wait, there's a guy that's dead here.
How can I change? Alright. Blood is stream sniping? Nah. Willhide does not stream snipe. I mean, he does, but he does it friendly. He's a friendly sniper. He's cool. He's a cool guy. He's a cool guy.
He can't hit the cord.
Wait, it's raining outside my house. The fuck? What's the plans today, guys? Chat. What's the plan today? I know people are waking up right now. What's y'all's plans? What are y'all doing today? Why the fuck did I do that? I need the flame. Bro. Oh my god. Alright. I'm gonna pack for a trip. Wait, what? Wait, Lucky. I want to go on trip. Sebastian, bet. Now, where is it? Is there like something that defog the nether? And when you get the snack? Okay, it better be good, bro. If you're yo, it better be good, bro. Oh, so you sure don't want to pay half, bro? Like, I can pay half if you want. That's chill, bet. Fuck no way, dude. I have the gold, bro. I don't care. Question is, did you loot the team top? Oh, because someone's looting it right now. Okay, never mind. No one looted it. What? She just gave me one thing I need, actually. Yeah. Alright. It was like 6 a.m. Dude, no! Do not ring the doorbell! Oh, bye. Wait, I have a silk touch pick again. Maybe I can get it this time. Normally. Is there no... I'm wondering now. Is there no chest here? There is. That was gonna aggro me. That's why I gave it something. Fuck. Just need obby now. I'll probably kill someone for enchants. Okay, well, I have 3 ancient debris, so that's chill. Went to the north of Sweden. Oh my god, Jocelyn. Take me, please. Please take me. I wanna travel. The fuck? I just wanna go to Europe so bad, bro. That's my goal. It's on my bucket list, some may say. Yo, what is that noise? So wait. Where did that dude die? Did I not see an IGN here? Whatever. Alright, now there's nothing in this fortress or bastion. Don't you eat Qndres? That's the plan. Norway, bro, let's go. Me and you, Lucky. Let's go, me and you. A duo trip. Maybe I'll do a donation goal. In the far. Low-key don't know where my chat thing's at, and I always forget. I'll just go to 0-0, I guess. Hazard to yo, Loki? The Greece trip? Never been to Greece. I'll be down. What am I saying, bro? I've never been anywhere around EU. I want to go to England, bro. Is England expensive or not, chat? Anyone know? What's like a trip that I can go to? Would be fine. Is it actually? Fucked. Not going to London anymore. Okay, well, I just need well, fuck. I want to be able to craft enchants. I gotta kill for enchants now. I just need diamonds. It's so cool. Follow me. I know, bro. I just want to go to London just to say that I went to London, you know? Like, yeah, I went to London. Look at that. Diamond just waiting for me. No dupe, though. Fuck. What? Countries? Wait, what's that one thing called that every European does? It's like at a train. You can just go to anywhere you want. Like, what is it called? Like $5, like $5 no, something like that. The train. It's a train that connects like a bunch of countries. You know what I'm talking about? Wish was talking to me about it. It's like you can go to like Norway to Spain in like a day or something like that. A €9 ticket? What? Oh, dude, what? Is there a train that goes to like Cali to New York for $5? Yo, it's like count me in, you know? Why isn't the US doing this, huh? Why isn't there a ticket system? Bro, we should, bro. Oh, diamonds. Something about me was like, just leave these diamonds, we don't need them. Okay, so I need... I still need obby, fuck. Okay, what, just do this right now? EU is better. Asia would be pretty nice to go to. Look, can make a netherite sword, but I'd rather just make the other sword. I can do it, right? Yeah. Song is fire. Wait. Make a chest plate. There you go. Alright, now I can go up and kill people. Okay. Eos is goofy. That's true. That's a fact. Theo's on. Oh, I got a DM. Oh, bro, it's annoying that. Okay, it's fine. We're chilling. All right. Give me lava. That's all I need. Just give me lava. Come on. Come on. I see my 2 obsidians. Kill someone with enchants. We're chilling. Oh, there it is, lava. Log. Alright, go do this fast. Okay, don't need that. Don't need that. Okay. Oh, I have everything I need. I don't want to craft pots. We're chilling. Okay. Wait, low-key I could have made katana. I could have low-key made grimoire. Fuck. I need someone with enchants though. That's all I need right now. I got you 2 flavors of my different. Okay, so it's not fucking fruit snacks. So we got 2 different flavors of it. Oh, bet you're bro. Bet I got you, bro. Oh, someone else has katana now too. Oh my god. Bruh. GG. Have enchants? Got him. Extra gold. Ooh, lapis. This guy had lapis. Cool. Where's this guy here? That's katana. Wait, this guy's gear. Make Artemis later, actually, with that. One sec, Lucky, one sec. Okay. I need to kill that guy. Oh my god, server's lagging a little bit. See the guy. Oh, the song's fire. Okay. Yeah, it's raining outside again. Fuck. You need the saplings in your inventory? Fuck. Okay, dude, you're making me. MTK. Yo, Elf, thanks for the follow. Appreciate it. I don't. Just I got two. Chart 3 diamond. I don't need that anymore though. Books. Section 1. Another book in here. Another Prot 1 book. Tell me if you still love. Bro, I don't. Do I just like make this? Yeah. Bro, like, can I get a. Bruh. I'm gonna use that here right now, but. Nice, okay. Okay. Dude, oh, fuck. There's so much shit in my inventory, bro. Hold on. Hi, Queen, good morning. There's so much shit in my inventory. I can't. I got Wilderhide still in the game. I gotta kill Wilderhide as soon as possible. That's a B. There we go. Somewhat clear it up. It's Wilderhide still. Yep. All right. Now, oh my god, I have sand too. Dude, lucky. This lucky guy's crazy, dude. I need to give lucky VIP. Because I'm fake. That's packed ice. What's this? This regular ice? Bro, you can dye ice? What? I'd seen somewhere where it had sand. They dropped it off. Oh, there's a guy here. Full line. Maybe I have 2 diamonds. No way he's trapping though, right? He's trapping. I don't know. Okay. Need those for later. You box the head. Okay. Okay, give me sand down there. Need a pickaxe. Wait, huh? Wait, no, wait. Oh, did I throw my pickaxe out? Right here. Okay. I can still make shard 3, I think. Patient with me. Holy fuck. This guy's sword hurts. What? What is it? Alright, gotta focus up. Got him. What was that sword, bruh? Sharp 4 diamond. Fuck. Yeah, same thing as my... Damn, okay. Whoa. Okay, I have a sharp 4 now. Okay. Okay. Focus up, focus up, focus up, focus up. Come on, give me something good. Give me like a sharp 4 buck as well. Okay. It's crazy. Lich staff or Artemis? Chat, pick. You guys pick, chat. Lich staff or Artemis? Artemis of flame. I look at to make Artemis. Wait, what was I gonna do again? Enchant book. I think I already have a sharp book too. I don't have a sharp book. What the fuck? Now I do. Okay. Get this anvil. It's over here somewhere. Okay. Sharp and sharp. 5 levels. Boom and boom. And it's 7 levels for sharp 5 or sharp 4. Bam, 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 and then copper. Telescope. What else I need? Feathers. Got everything? Diamonds. Wait, what am I missing? Oh, TNT. Right, and then I have the gunpowder here. And then sand over here. Okay, not too shabby. Oh no. I really gotta add that pack. That guy was actually stacked, bro. Good thing I TP. Like, if I didn't TP there, he probably would have killed me. But then, how much levels is it? Just for power 3 flame. Okay. Then that's it. That's all I can make. If I find 2 more diamonds, I'll make Lich Staff as well. I'll have 4 extra ultimates. I see someone within distance. It's Witherhide. Wait, these leggings. Hits him. Yep, it does. Oh, we're gonna run forever now. It hits him? It doesn't. Where'd he go? Really need his leggings, like really, really badly. What? Oh wait, bro, dug. I think he actually dug. Okay. Dude, Booster, I'm playing up all night, bro. I just woke up. Wait, Booster, are you free right now? You free? Want to join a call? Before after this game, I'm down to play with you. I'll play this game and I'll play teams if you want to play. I just gotta get kills right now, bro. Oh, brought 3 chests. What? Oh, I probably should have seen his other stuff. Whatever. Everyone's going to sleep. Wow. Wow. I'll sleep. I'll sleep. W grind. Chat. I love grinding. Bro. I'm just what? I gotta get the food, don't I? Yeah, what about it? Is it on the way? You got scammed, bro. G freaking G. Yo, Evan. Hi, Evan. Evan Zaw. Hello. Get a refund. True. Valid. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. It's Wilderhide. No, bro.
Whoa.
No, I know what you're hiding there, bro. I see. I'm not dumb. Yep, I go down there and I get trapped. Yep, and then I get TNT minecarded, and that's how it is. All right, trust me, I've been there, done that. I'm good.
What flip is that?
I don't know.
Oh, it's freaking.
It's the person I did not want to find, bruh. I gotta get him out of the game, though. I just don't want him to lead me there again, so I'm going this way. Yes, you. I need you. Go. Ugh. No, let's fight, bro. I'm full iron, basically. You're enchanted with the chest plate. Oh, he's so fast, bruh. Ohio Skibbity Pizza Riz 69. Who is this? This is definitely a nickname, isn't it? Fuck. Does he have pots? Oh, yeah, strength, doesn't he? Oh, fuck. Unless that's like low-key need Woodlide right now to just come in clutch. It's only a 3-minute pot, so. No, dead. Okay. Booster, get on, booster, get on, booster, get on, booster, get on. Boost for join live 4. Join live 4. Join live 4 booster. Message boost for get on live 4. Message boost for get on live 4. Live 4. Wait, I'm trying to remember. I'm gonna get my snackies. Yeah, he splashed. I didn't know what he splashed. That guy's annoying. Whatever. GG, right back. BRB. Dude, Lucky, what the fuck did you get me, bro? What are these? Himalayan gold with butter. Lucky, what? Why'd you give me 2 huge ass bags of popcorn? What the fuck? Alright, well, I don't know what I'm gonna eat for the fucking next week. Oh my god, I'm eating popcorn. Hi, Orbit. Wait, it's far out. What the hell? Wait, double your choice, Lucky. Share. Open wide. I got you guys. Fuck. Thank you, Lucky. I love you. But I really want it though. Peach mango green tea. Yes. Why did I go in a freaking plastic bag like this? Dude, they're so cold, bro. Oh yes, dude. Oh my god, Lucky Mix. Oh my god, Lucky Mix. They're so cold. Wait. Can you guys hear this? Wait, hold on. Wait, clear comes. Wait, ready for this, chat? Watch this. I'm gonna crack open a cold one. Ready? Wait. Oh yeah. Okay. That guy who killed you is not. Who is it? Who is that? Who is that, Birdie? You can get some peach mango Celsius. 200 milligrams of caffeine. Fiend. He's definitely Australian, right? I can't leap, but he's a good known player. Okay. So he's Australian, for sure. Because he's floor boring. Well-known player, huh? Okay. Might be Asian. Okay. Let's see. What's his name? 9. What DPI? 800. If I can find it. Let's see. Hmm. Okay. I have queen. Dude, this popcorn's addicting. Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing. Wait, Evan. Why do I know your IGN? Where do I see your name everywhere? Why? Evan's all. Oh, robot. Imagine being nicked. Imagine. I'm level 70 now. Oh. Oh, Defin? Okay. High boots for. Hello?
Bro, are we not playing Civ?
Yeah, we are.
Then why are you
Bitch.
in a solo queue?
What do you mean? I'm not.
You're in a solo queue, bro.
Hold on, I'm eating popcorn.
Oh my goodness.
Boots for. Yo. What was with that heart, by the way? Got something to say?
Alright. Nah, it was misclick. How are
Okay.
you still hung up on that? That was hours ago, bro.
Okay. I don't call it misclick today. But let's put Dev. This bitch definitely awake. Wake up.
Sure. Nah, I think he's sleeping.
Oh, he's not, bro. No, he's not.
Because I did hang out with him like before. Maybe like.
No way, this guy's grinding Fortnite still, bro.
Hours ago?
Yes, Dev.
Bro, get a third, man. What are you doing? Wait,
I know, I'm
5UP's in here? 5UP plays hoplite? Since when?
I think he just thought it. He just started playing today. I don't know.
Might be a beast. Who knows?
Let's get 5 up. Let's get 5 up. Let's get 5 up. Let's get 5 up. We gotta carry him though. How many wins today? How many wins today? How many wins today?
I don't think. How many wins today? I don't know. I've kind of been throwing games, dude.
Oh. Wait, so everyone's going to sleep already?
Yeah, we played our last game, and then Hannah's just doing her last solo, and they're watching, and then they're all gonna go to sleep. Sad.
Well, let me get this texture pack in real quick. It's the slow fire. Actually, it packs to edit. I'll use this.
By the way, do you want old enchant?
I'd have it.
No, you have. Do you have the old enchant or a different enchant?
I have just shiny trim, shiny enchants.
Yeah, mine is like old, where where it's super easy to see when somebody's enchanted.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I hate you.
I don't know if you want that. What the
Wait, Booster, why are you?
Who's our third? Who's our
I don't
third?
know. I don't know. I'm using this texture pack. I don't want to see if.
Ping everyone in the Discord, bro. Holy shit.
No, I'm not pinging everyone in the Discord.
Can I add everyone though?
No, don't. It's one way to get kicked from the damn Discord.
How funny though, how funny. Yeah, I got absolutely bullied by Squid and Swirls today though.
W, fuck yeah. Wait, wait, my bad. Wait, tell Radunes to wake his ass up.
Radunes? He's not gonna be awake. Are you stupid?
You're right. That guy has like a crazy time,
Maybe
right?
I should go to sleep too and just leave you.
No, no.
We're having an opposite NA schedule.
What is that? What is with that? Is that your thumbnail?
Yeah, it is. It is for the thing for my second channel.
Okay, shh. There comes. It
was like a replication of the 3 Spider-Man memes.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 Spider-Man pointing at each other meme.
I love it.
It's cool.
You want to love more though? I love more. I love you more.
What the fuck? Grandpa Gamer 12.
Yeah, who the fuck is that? What a random, huh?
Right.
Oh, I know Duzum said he wanted to play. Dude, I'm eating this popcorn, bro. Fucking fire. It's
Are you eating popcorn in the morning? Actually, wait, that's not that bad. What is it just salt?
No, not even just butter.
Popcorn? Okay, that's bad. If it was just regular sea salt,
coconut oil. How do you put the dragon? Press like your throw button. Chat, am I weird for having my throw button as a X?
Oh my god, what the fuck?
What?
No, wait,
huh?
When are you gonna get back on the leaderboards, bro? How far down are you now? Like legit. How far
like 20 wins, 23 wins. Oh, I guess 16 wins from 10th place.
No, what 16 wins? So which place are you?
21st.
Oh, you're actually trash. Oh my goodness. What
One
about
head.
teams though?
Teams? Oh, I'm far from that.
Teams?
I'm
100th actually.
Oh my god, I have 666 kills in teams. What are you?
I have 335.
I'm 46 in teams.
37 wins. I have 37 wins. How many do you have?
53.
Damn, so I can catch up to you.
We're gonna wait for Duzum.
By the way, I have my XP perk maxed out.
XP perk? What? Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I have level 3 speed now. I
You're
want
a
to
sweat.
get I want to max out the gold right now.
Okay. Want to max you out? Wait, boost fur.
Yeah.
You smell like shit. No. Remember that thing you're talking to me about? But like this, like you can like travel all of Europe with $6 for like the train or something like that.
Wait, when did I ever say that?
Remember you telling me like if I went to what is it called? If I went to TwitchCon EU, you would be able to just get a plane there, some shit, no? Like a train
I
there.
could take a plane there? Yeah, that.
No, a train.
Not free. A train there?
Yeah, like a bus or some shit like that. Remember you told me?
I don't think it was. I don't think I said that. No.
You did. You were telling me that you could just take a train that goes straight to a city, and then you can just travel Paris, something like that. Chat,
what are you on, bro?
No, never mind.
What kind of drugs did you take, bro? That is crazy.
What?
1v1 me right now. Apex.
Damn.
On Apex, dude.
Yeah, L gear.
By the way, why is your sleep schedule so fucked again, bro?
Who is this?
We could have been playing all night. You could have saved me from swirls, bro. But you were asleep.
You said what?
We could have been playing all night. You could have saved me from swirls and then...
No, I did ask. Okay.
Bro.
So I woke up today at 8 a.m., right? I was like, oh, bet. You know, I'm going to fucking just grind and get on. Bro, I ate breakfast and just fucking knocked out. I don't know what it was. I had like a... I don't know. It just, yeah.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
You know you shouldn't sleep on a full stomach, right? right? You know that, right?
Wait, so what you say?
Hello?
Wait, you sound so
You
quiet, by the way.
shouldn't be- That's because you have to meet turned down or something. I don't know.
No, you're just talking so quiet, man.
I'm not. I'm just talking normally.
I have you at an E1, you're right.
Exactly.
I'm supposed to be at school, but my teachers are on strike. Wait, what?
Wait, did you turn me up?
Yeah, I did.
Let's go!
Oh my fucking god. All right, well. Go. Yep, you're supposed to go back down at fucking 75. Fuck you, asshole.
Damn, this chat won't be able to hear me now.
And I just knew something like that was happening with this fucking clown. Great.
Bro, relax, dude. Relax.
You woke up all my fucking viewers that were sleeping. Now they fucking hate you.
You're welcome.
Fuck this guy, chat.
Cool. Stop sleeping on the stream.
Fuck you. I'm the Australian right now.
Yeah, I can tell, dude. There are so many Australians that are just like have a
there's
3-second delay on their knockback. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, I know. I had that earlier. It's kind of fucking cringe, right?
Yeah, it's disgusting to fight.
Yeah. What? We'll play right now. We'll play with Duzum. Who'll carry us?
We haven't lost with Duzum before.
Nah, bro. Nah, dude. What the fuck? Nah, y'all got some crazy hits from from Narnia and stuff, bro. I'll be running around and just be critting me out. It's crazy. Did you say yeah?
Is disadvantage?
What did he?
Nah, it's an advantage if you've been playing with AU paying for so long.
Oh. Hold on. Forgot Goldie. Okay. Fuck. Even if we get a third, we won't be able to invite him because everyone's sleeping. And I'm pretty sure this Discord's just private.
Yep.
I'm like high tier 2 FFA and everything. Damn. Ew. You did say that. You're right. Let me look at my friends list real quick. Reduce is offline.
What do you think about dueling Civ though?
Coming out December, no? What's up, December, no? Duels?
No, duel Civ right now.
High tier 2 FFA? Yeah,
Free for all.
I'm an L tier and everything.
Okay, they're gonna be putting on tiers, bro. I don't want to be on a tier list.
I'll put you on a tier.
No, please.
What if we just play team of 2? Thoughts? No.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, bro. Let's go.
Run it.
By the way, if I rush Nether and if I see a fortress, I just leave.
Wait, we can look. You just play Willerhide. Actually, well, I know someone asked me earlier.
Is Willerhide?
Oh fuck.
Sorry. That just came out.
This guy asked me first. I'll ask him. Yo.
Dude, my bad.
Need a third.
Isn't Carter like trash though?
No, I'm pretty sure he's really good.
Nice trash. I'd win a 1v1 easy game.
Really?
Yep.
Kiss me.
What the fuck?
Next time we meet up. Never mind.
What?
Nothing. There was a guy running around. he was in my lobby early in FFA. He was like, someone network with me. Qndres network. Let's network. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? I mean, that's one way to do it, right? Who's pretty good?
Networking?
Carter's pretty good.
Dude, we were playing a Civ game, and me, Wally, and Hannah. Me and Hannah dropped, and Wally was remaining with one teammate. That teammate fucking popped off. Like, we probably had the best player in the entire lobby as our teammate.
Who was it?
He was. I no. It's like somebody who doesn't even know. Like who I've never heard of. Like none of us knew who he was. He was just popping off. It was like Sin's old or something. I don't know. Like, it was just cool. Cause like Wally put somebody in a cobwebs and the guy instantly clicked and just put a lava bucket on him while the other dude is in a cobweb, like just wombo combo.
Hi, Moki.
He knew what to do, you know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Nah, it was insane. Best teammate.
Why can't we get
all the?
Wait, there's a fucking green dev. Sorry.
Didn't know you had ADHD, bro. My bad.
Bro. Thought I had a. Yo, Birdie, you trying to play Birdie? We have to go look at. I think Birdie's good. Wait, Birdie's literally in leaderboards, no? Ooh, high key sure bet. I'm pretty good. I started streaming like at 11 my time. All right, bet.
Get them all away.
Andre is 64 years old.
My bad.
Oh. You just see your squid? How's it working out, by the way, Moki? How's the how's that working out?
Workout was great, dude.
Why didn't it say you left?
Okay, did I ask about your fucking workout?
Very strange.
I just heard the word workout.
I said no, I said Moki, how is your event working out? And you said, yeah, I worked out. Loki, I need to get back into it, bro. Anyways, what'd you do today, Booster? What'd you eat today?
What did I do today? Just hoplite, bro.
That's it?
All day.
Dude, you asked me to play when I was sleeping. You're actually addicted.
No. Twice, actually.
Yeah, I'm drinking basically a pre-workout on stream. I'm drinking 2 Celsius with 200 milligrams of caffeine. I'm addicted to UHC again.
This doesn't even feel like UHC, I'm not gonna lie. This just feels like the Battle Royale in Minecraft, dude. Just because I don't know, like UHC, when I hear the word UHC, it kind of connects me with the 1.8 PvP, and this isn't 1.8 PvP, so like
yeah.
I'm enjoying myself.
Wait, we played 1.8 UHC, remember back then? I think when I first I think maybe like our first 6 months when I known you,
it was not
we played.
for me.
What the fuck?
Why is Willerhide targeting me, bro? I'm fucking Nick, dude, and he's still losing, bro.
Damn, 5 to 6 months, bro. I'm excited, bro. I'm excited. All the luck to you, man. Keep the grind up.
Watch out.
What?
Sit down and hide.
You're so toxic. Nah, dude. Why did we? Nah, that's crazy. You know who else got toxic?
He's back again. He's back for more, bro.
You know who else? You know who else is toxic, Booster? Ant, bro. But you know who I'm blaming though? I'm blaming Ninja for that one.
Dude, the entire server is toxic people.
No. I swear Ant was like super nice. Like
he still is, but has their moments, bro. Everybody, dude, whenever a kid steals your potion, you're allowed to be toxic, bro.
Dude, you're like, was it yesterday? We have Toasty in this game, bro. Wait, Toasty is Wick in this game? Wick. What's up, cool?
What? My arrow just went through him.
Wait, Booster, go nether, right? I'll go nether with you. Oh, I wonder if the server has reached like like any Asian countries, like Japan or like, you know, or Korea, because I know I had back when I played Hypixel UHC, I met a friend. He was South Korean, and he told me that how Hypixel was unplayable for him because it was so laggy that they played on I forgot what exactly he told me, but he was playing on a VPN essentially to play Hypixel.
I did see some people request access to voice chat for Asian countries.
Really?
Oh my god, that guy's just straight up hacking. Yo, Willer started using voice chat, bro.
Man. Love you, man.
Willer started using voice chat, bro. He just didn't manage to kill me, bro.
Okay. See a village right here. Oh, Sphinx. I'm going for the Sphinx. They're in the same game as I am in the same game as Andre 64 or whatever his name is.
Wait, Desert Temple, low-key. Hold up. Maybe I get iron from here.
Oh my god, this guy, bruh.
Two diamonds?
Power 1. I got 2 power 1 bucks.
I got 2 diamonds.
Wait, why power 1? What? Ew.
Yeah, I got enough for 2 trackers. I got 2 diamonds, though. That's kind of high.
Okay, everyone's just down here.
I got 2 diamonds.
Nice. You got 2 diamonds. I have 3. You're slow. This guy just stole my chest I was in. I'm gonna go to you so we can both go nether.
Yeah, I don't really have much near me for nether. Don't have any. Oh, I do have some iron.
Well, lock the fuck in. What are you doing? Come on, let's lock in. Booster.
Bro.
Okay. Booster.
You get flint on the way?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got some flint. Oh my god, cave spiders, really? Okay, well I can.
You're 300 blocks from me.
Yeah, maybe don't go. Maybe just go
Yeah, maybe I'll try to do something else.
yeah,
Just go nether.
See if you can get nether.
All right, well, Birdie's gonna get enchants. Bet with bet. Wait, so what you say, Booster?
See if you can get nether as well.
Bet. Yeah, just you go in there and we'll go in there both. Tell Booster to edit his videos. Wait, what? Bro.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, man.
Actually forgot then. Where's all the gravel here? Hello? Excuse me?
Dude, I find it mad annoying when someone goes into the chat. Qndres, could you message Dev and tell him to read his DM business email? Yeah, man. I got you, dude.
Fire. I think that's
fuck you, asshole. Dude,
I think that's
nah. Hey, Qndres, I'm a big fan, but can you tell Kieran Dev I said hi? Okay, like, guess I'm just a fucking messenger. Yep.
How the fuck do I have a guy chasing me? He's not even on my team, bro.
Guess I'm Kieran Dev's business manager.
Like, what
Qndres, it's my birthday, and I was wondering if you can tell Kieran Dev if he can say hi to them for me. Yeah, man. Because they know who you are. I got you. Hey, Kier, Dev, yeah. Some guy named Jeremy says hi to you. Oh, hey, Jeremy. Hi, Jeremy.
I straight up can't rush another, by the way. Like, this is.
How are you, Jeremy?
I don't know, man.
Slay, yes. Yes, queen, slay.
This is probably the worst drop I've
Alright, I need to stop, I need to stop. What?
It's the worst drop I've ever had. I just can't rush.
Stronghold?
Nothing. This is the worst drop I've ever had, bro.
Yo, louder. Too soft.
Shut the fuck up.
Saw jokes. He said he would edit. No. I see. Yo. 1xbet. What's up? Hello. I need to watch the Marvels, bro. I haven't watched it yet. Dude, not even my brother wants to go watch it with me at the movie theaters. I told him I'll buy his ticket, and he's like, I'll think about it. Which means no.
I don't want to watch the Marvels.
What the fuck?
I want to watch Loki too.
Oh, I Loki want to watch Loki too.
Because they probably have stuff that I haven't
Loki,
seen. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's what my brother said.
From the Invasion,
She-Hulk?
which I haven't. She-Hulk, I haven't watched yet.
What?
So I can't judge, but, like,
wait, let's watch it together.
Nah, fuck that.
What?
I watched the
okay, like, fuck you then, asshole.
Nah,
like,
I watched one episode of the Invasion, and I decided to never watch Marvel again.
What?
Unless it's like a big movie.
You're fucking trolling. I love Secret Invasion.
Like,
what?
What the fuck is this, man? I just can't go nether. It just doesn't let me.
G fucking G.
You have to mine, bro. GG's, bro. Like, the world just doesn't let me.
Yeah, Booster has been just loving Hoplite recently. I'm gonna tell you guys, expect an upload this Friday. Wait, this Friday? I don't know. No, you know what? Don't expect anything. Just know that the next upload he uploads, fucking banger. Fire. Give him a hint, bro. Give him a hint.
What?
Can I give him a hint?
No, bro. I'll ban you. You won't be invited to the next one, bro. If you leak anything, bro. Yeah, exactly.
Heads up. There you go. That's all I'm gonna say. Just heads up. Is that a good leak?
Absolutely nothing, bro. That's
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. If they know, they know.
Makes absolutely no sense.
Yep.
That genuinely makes no sense.
Look. I'll message real quick. This is actually fire.
Hey, you're still messaging me? You're wasting time? Okay.
Yep. You're wasting time.
You haven't even messaged me, bro? Like, what are you doing?
All right, look at that now. Does he W hint, right? W hint.
That is the worst shit I've ever heard. That's the worst hint that anyone has ever given in any of my.
What the fuck? Okay, bitch, fuck you, asshole. Fuck you then. Hi, Sam.
For myself. Let's go.
What? Home lol. What's up? What? What? What language is that, bruh?
I don't know.
So no nether?
No, we did not get any nether. Wait, do you know Caboodle?
Yeah, no over.
She might be down to play. I can ask her.
Bet. I'm down to play with whoever, smiley face.
Warning you, she's like super good at the game.
Okay.
She will carry.
Okay, you literally called her bad last time? Well, then bad?
I lied.
Okay.
She's incredible. She made today.
Oh, she made Clown Pierce. Okay. I thought Clown Pierce was his own person.
God, somebody just didn't go all the way down and didn't get these diamonds. That is crazy. I got 4 diamonds, so I got a sword and enchants. Sword for you and enchants. Let's go.
Wait, was it you that told me Clown Pierce is exclusive to Ferret only? That's crazy.
No, I played with Ferret the other day.
Oh yeah? How'd it go?
We won.
Ferret, yeah, crazy. Ferret's crazy.
And float
Used to be a UHC sweat. And who?
Yeah, and float wives.
Flow dives?
Flow tives, yeah, I guess. I don't know.
You guys all on Discord?
Yeah.
Did you guys win? Oh, wait, flow dives is literally the... you know what flow dives cross teamed on me?
Yeah, I know. Not surprised you're that good, you know?
Yeah, I know. True. You call me...
Sorry, I can't keep that in.
What? Fuck, are you recording or something? Or why'd you say you can't keep that in?
You're dog shit!
Fuck you, asshole. I love my friend.
I don't love you.
What the? I see diamonds, but I'm not gonna... This guy's... Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I just stole this guy's diamonds. Fuck. Yo. Bro is definitely mad. No, but he was like... I think he's like low on HP. He was like trying his best to stay alive, and he was like taking 1 block at a time to go down, and the diamonds were next to him, and then I just mined him, and now I feel bad, and now I'm a fucking jackass.
But like, who asked?
Fuck you, asshole. I go pee, bro. Fuck. I have a stream like background. Just hear you. Yeah, I'm good, bro. Sorry, I just got really excited because I just saw those guys' diamonds. Imagine getting excited over stealing someone's diamonds. Language? Me when I'm tired. Meow. Toasty, you're in my game, bro. Toasty, who are you with?
Your mom. Oh, shit.
Okay.
I destroyed you, bro. That's crazy. A single diamond. Please give me like a... Not a single diamond, but like...
It's like you didn't go nether. You're throwing already. You can't find diamonds.
I have a diamond sword and enchants for you. Shut up, man.
Wait, are you serious? You have enchants? Someone already made enchants, you bozo. Birdied has enchants.
I have 4 diamonds.
Oh, okay.
Get yourself a sword so I can get myself boots, bro.
I already have sword.
Okay, then I'm making myself boots.
Go for it, Dad.
Where are we going to?
Birdied, but not yet. Like, still cave a little longer.
Nah, fuck that. My cave is already like fully excavated.
What?
Yeah, it's fully taken. I was just looking for iron left over.
Oh, I mean, yeah, you can start going then. Meow. Good tab. Saw Grandpa Gamer. I wonder who that is. Yeah. Who the fuck is Grandpa Gamer? Bet, birdie, bet. Yo, Blueberry. Hello. Hi. Thank you for the follow. Meow. I'm a cat. What the fuck? I'm lagging. All right. So he has that. I had to 72 diamonds. Bet. I made myself boots.
You have an extra book for me?
Extra book? No, I have 0 books.
I'm going to birdie then.
Bet. Me too.
1,100 blocks away. He's just straight up pause one. No, wait.
Booster, you're literally the, oh yeah, he is the opposite quarter. I need to go pee. Just entertain my chat. Chat, I'll be right back. I need to go pee.
This is gonna be a long travel, bro. I have no healing. Chat spam. Bald in his chat.
Hands are washed. How are you, Blueberry? How was your day today? That was so cute. Meow. Meow again, I dare you. Meow. Meow, 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 meow. Lucifer. Yeah. Lucifer, hello?
What's up?
Hello? Lucifer?
What's up? What's up?
What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? I cannot wait to go to Norway. Chat, I'm going to Norway, and we're moving in. We're buying a house.
Oh yeah, we're buying a
barn, chat. Yep, in Norway.
Farm, yeah.
Yep.
Show,
I don't know where, but all I know it's Redunes is sponsoring the whole house. W Redunes.
For show, bro.
Yeah, why are you talking like an American? Stop saying for show.
For show.
Stop. I'm cringing. Also, I have 41 gold. The fuck are you doing? What was what the fuck? We can make power 3, by the way. I have power 1 book for you.
What's up?
Stop. Oh fuck, dude! Stop! Don't do that! Don't do that! Oh fuck!
My name
Don't do
is
that!
Eugene.
Stop! Actually, just chill. Stop!
What's your name?
Dude. Oh fuck!
I'm
Don't do
Eugene.
that, dude.
I'm gonna start talking like that to my teammates.
My guys.
Yo, I'm Eugene. Do you have incense?
By your tongue. Hi guys.
Please incense. Guys, please incense.
My name is Booster.
Guys, please incense.
My name is Booster. Shut your bitch ass up, Booster.
Please, can I have incense? Why is the Wheeler Hyde stalking us? He's a weirdo. Nah.
Wheeler Hyde?
I will report you to my mother. She's gonna find where you live.
Got your
You're gonna get tracked in the...
Toasty. Nah, I don't know who you are, bro. I don't know who you guys are.
Oh, fuck.
Yo, I'm reporting you. I'm reporting you.
Yo, Wheeler Hyde.
Yo, this isn't allowed. This isn't allowed, bro.
Yo, why is there 30 people here at our border?
Guys, you're weird.
Birdie took our enchant table, so we're gonna
Birdie,
get
you're
it
trolling.
Why the fuck is there blue?
Birdie,
You're going to do
fuck?
it by any means necessary.
Birdie.
I don't care if it. I don't care if it.
You're getting banned. You're getting banned. That's reports. That's reports.
Birdie, what the fuck, man?
That's reports. That's reports.
Wait, Birdie has the whole ops on us, bro.
That's reports.
I'm
That's
talking
reports.
Birdie, but you guys can run
That's
free if you want.
reports. That's reports.
Oh, bro, I can't even hear myself think.
Inappropriate behavior. Inappropriate behavior. Fuck you, bitch.
Vote me.
Yo, bro. Language, man. Language.
Dude, Birdie.
Language my ass.
Get these kids out of here. I'm getting you all banned for excessive stalking. You're all banned.
Excessive stalking. Bro, you're the one who took our enchant table. This is warranted. This is warranted, bro. Yo. No! I don't pick a priority.
This is not
What's
good.
my team doing, bro? Wait. How many enchant tables do you have? Wait, what? You have multiple. Okay, this is actually bullying at this point.
I'm getting mods. Mods are coming.
Alright.
Wheeler Hyde.
I don't know why my freaking team is.
You book.
Part of this.
Hey, take the shop. There.
Wait, W.
I stole the handle.
Whoa, bro. Put it back, bro. God.
Oh shit.
Hey, if only we had picked
Vote me. Oh my god, who
Whoa,
the fuck got
whoa,
king?
whoa,
Why did we go
whoa.
golden apples, bro? What the fuck, dude?
Whoa! Where's my team, bro? Where's the whole
Okay,
team?
well, this whole team's fucking trolling. Like what? I don't want to play this game
all
anymore.
trolling, bro.
Hurry up! I'm just gonna all in the next person I see. Like,
follow me,
who
follow
the
me,
fuck
follow
votes
me, follow
farming,
me.
bruh?
Wait, we voted. Oh,
Dude.
we voted farming too, though.
Who voted farming, bruh?
That's why you gotta be on Nick.
Oh no.
These kids vote you.
Why?
Ah shit, my fault.
Bro wants to be friends, man. No, stop! Don't fight this, guys. Don't fight this. It's a 4v7. We're not
Nah,
fighting
kill
a
this
minute.
guy, kill this guy.
Yeah, kill this guy.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, boots for you. Just kill him, kill him, kill him. Dude, actual two-hit teammates, bro.
Nah, it's fine. We should
Nice.
fuck
I just kill this guy here. Nice, GG's.
Yo, some fat ass.
41 gold.
You guys got apples or?
No. Dude, that shit actually makes me mad, bruh.
Do you need enchanted?
Why vote farming? Ah, dude, honestly, let's just go next, bro. Like, I'm already mad enough.
Dude, I got so mad I took the E table. No, we can still win. Just love you.
Yeah, but it's like, so much of a delay. Booster, where you at? Booster? Hello? Booster? Hello? Bro.
Oh shit, come to me, sorry,
Oh,
I was
okay.
accidentally muted. Yeah, well, there's three of us just chasing three of them. They could probably turn and drop us, but they're not gonna, because
Oh, dude.
they're too scared.
Does that not make you mad? Like, who votes farming, bro?
I stopped caring, man. I'm too tired for caring.
True. I just don't care anymore. We just win this game.
Yeah, guys, pick up the pace, guys.
Yeah.
Pick up the pace, guys.
Can I join after?
Nah,
No,
why you not
4:30.
running, bro?
Are they chasing?
Yo, you're low. You should run, man.
Yeah, they're
You're
chasing
on
over
20.
here.
Please, yo, turn around. Let's fight, bro. Let's fight. It's fun.
I'm not respawning our teammates. Like,
It's fun, guys. Oh my god, there's a guy that split off and set himself on fire. Put him out.
This guy's
Put him out, guys. Oh my god, free loot. Actual free loot. This is crazy.
Wheeler hide.
I'm gonna fucking hop like this whole game,
He's
bro.
running back. He's running back.
Oh my
Wait,
god,
Dad.
you hide. You better hide.
Bro,
You better hide, bro. Now, what we want me, bitch? Are you scared? Are you scared, bro? Nah, you stalked us. You fully deserve this, bitch.
What
Nah,
are
come
you
back,
doing?
bitch. Nah. Come on,
Why are you
turn,
talking
bitch.
like that?
I'm alone. Come on now. Come on now. Are you scared? Are you scared?
Dude, chat, what's
Are
wrong
you
with Booster?
scared? I'm gonna keep chasing you. Lead me to your trap.
Yo, skip
Nah,
the
lead me
night.
to your trap. Yeah, lead me to your trap, bitch. Oh my god. Free hit.
I didn't get any of those heads, bruh. Give me heads.
I'm getting out of here so much. I'm so out of here. Where are your parents?
Alright, I don't have
Where are
any
your
chance, but
parents?
I don't care.
I'm gonna call your parents. You're talking bad manners. Learn some manners, bitch. Oh my god, what a trap. What a trap. No way you have the twapper kits. No way you have the twapper kits. You have the twapper kit with the shovel? You fucking pussy? I don't care.
I'm gonna go
Come
Birdie.
back.
Oh, Birdie's
Yes.
chasing with you.
Oh my god, there's a skeleton team tagging. Tag teaming.
Why are you talking like that?
I just decided to hot mic like a shop. Leave him alone, guys. He told us to leave him alone, bro. Nah, guys, leave him alone. I'm chasing you to border.
Booster lost
I
his
am
mind. Yeah, he
chasing
did.
you to. Oh, what happened there, bro? Yo, my inner demons just came out. Holy shit. Oh my goodness. Stop running. I will catch you. Eventually. Yeah, professional dying, bitch.
Anyways,
You're gonna run out of hunger soon.
okay. This guy's Booster strolling. You ask our team if he has
Yo.
enchants, Birdied.
Yeah, I'm hoping too, ball. This is kind of cool. Oh, you just got quit. What do you mean? Why you flexing, bro? You did nothing there. Relax.
Alright, Booster, you're by yourself, by the way, so please don't die.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm with a teammate, and my teammate is low-key like good, so it's fine.
Look. I'm going back, Birdied.
Yeah, go back.
Birdied. Wait, Birdie is with you. Oh, Birdie's with you. Okay.
Oh yeah, Birdie is with me.
Fuck. Okay. Well, I'm just I have my dead teammates pretty much right here with me. Yeah, it's Birdie if he has enchant table.
Birdie, do you have enchant table by the way? Yo, kill with a hide, I will drop you on my loot.
Dude.
Kill with a hide and I will drop you on my loot. Kill with a hide and I will drop you on my loot.
Dude.
I'll just need enchants. Low-key, kill with a hide and I will drop you on my loot right now. Just kill Willow Hide. He's cringe.
Wait, I literally see you guys. The fuck? Wait.
Help me, please. Team, help me. Oh my goodness. Please.
Wait, what's your low?
Shut up.
17.
Yo, help me, team. Team, help me. Yo, Birdie, come back, please.
Another team to the left.
Oh no, I'm gonna die. I'm so low. Please help me, guys.
Just take the one.
I'm gonna die, guys. Please help me. Please help me, guys. I'm gonna die. Guys, please help me. Guys, oh no, I'm dying, guys. Please help me. Guys, I'm bringing a party.
Wait, is that you behind me?
Oh no, they won't help me. Oh no, hit your shots, guys. Oh no.
Oh my god, this guy's gonna die.
No, guys. Yo, Andres, you might want to start moving to me, by the way. I'm bringing 3 people. And
I'm chasing a full iron. You want to stop chasing this guy?
yeah, stop chasing and come to me right now. I will get
coming.
dropped.
You just run. I have 56 gold for you. I see you're 114 blocks from me.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm running in the opposite direction or not.
You're running toward me.
Nice, okay, good.
I think I see you. You're the one. Yeah, run. Yeah, you're running away from me, I think. Yeah, you're running away from me. Can you turn right somehow?
Right? Not left?
Nope, right of you. Or now, yeah. I see them too. You see me? I'm the one across the river. I have a G-head.
He just said don't eat my apples! What an arrogant fool, bro! Holy shit.
You running?
Behind you, McKee.
Mickey, behind you. Mickey, what are you doing? Mickey, behind you, bro.
Are you here, by the way? I've been circling
Yeah,
them,
I'm
bro.
right behind you.
These guys are so toxic and so bad at the game. Oh my god. I love
Holy
it.
fuck, wait. Okay, I can take one
Oh
right here. I got 2 of them on me.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I'm just gonna be running circles.
Okay.
Whoa. Hack the bomb.
Oh.
It's fine. I got this.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
Wait, I had no enchants? Like, I don't understand. I was running circles. How did you not get to me?
God, bro.
Oh my god. First the fucking farming and then none of the teammates actually listen? Like, where do they go?
Oh, why we go farming, bro? Dead. I'm running a birdie. Oh, he's 500 blocks from me. Oi, okay. Oh no. I'm dead.
Yeah. Jesus. 2 minutes. We need to
What's up, Jake?
we need to outvote the dumbass teammates here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why, bro. This shit's
we get
annoying.
sharpness 3 there, we just quick drop them and we just
I know, exactly. I wish there was like a avoid teammates. Well, Birdie's still our teammate. He's still here. Birdie's good. It's just like we just didn't have sharp 3s there and we couldn't do shit. I'm unnicking, bro. I can't play unnicked. Like, I mean, I can't play a nick because then no one's gonna vote for me, and then I'm just not gonna get sharp 3. Which I think, thank you. It's fine. Third birdie. That's right. We just wait for you, bro. Just try all the next person you want. Your team, what? Yeah, our team literally threw by voting gaps. Like, actual just dead teammates. Like, I wish they had like a avoid teammates option, bro. Like how Overwatch says you can avoid a teammate or avoid someone. Like that's, I know who I'm avoiding for sure.
Unfortunate. Can't believe these happen. I don't know.
Yeah, that's whatever. We just go again. GG's.
Yeah, GG's.
Hoplite should change the vote leader, then leader choose which one. No, because then the leader could just throw. Like, you know what I mean?
Bro, why is your chat saying that I lost my mind?
Because you're just talking like, hi guys. You're talking like an actual.
Hello guys, it's Eugene.
Oh no, bro.
What's up, guys?
You're making my head hurt. You're making my head hurt. You're making my head hurt.
Yo, this would be a fire video, bro. I'm just gonna title my video Eugene and talk like this.
Third channel.
Yeah, literally just wait. I'll just walk with iron armor and say, "What's up, guys? What's up, guys?" Then drop down into a cave and switch to diamond armor and start talking normally. And just shit on them. I just need
Wait,
to
that's on his
TV
team.
more.
What? Wait. Oh, they're a different team. Like, look at your teammate. Look at your teammate, bro. Oh my god, Birdie. Our team, your teammates just sucks, bro. Your teammate just, it's an NPC. Good luck, Birdie. Yeah, next game, just, I'm with nicking. Behind. Yeah, this Birdie. Peace out, Albert. Have a good breakfast. Damn, it's already 5 a.m., bro.
Only?
Only? What the fuck you mean only?
It's 2 p.m. for me. Let's go! I've been up all night.
Yeah, I've been losing every game so far, so I'm fucking dog shit.
Yeah, Sam. I've not been losing a game, but I've just been playing really badly today. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm tired. Also, it's just like, this was the worst drop ever. I just dropped in the middle of the desert. The caves didn't lead to a lava pool. There was no iron. It's just annoying.
I got a DM.
No way.
What is this? Oh, okay. Go, Birdie. You got this, bro. Kill this guy. Oh, it's never mind. It's 2 of them. What's up, Whiny Mosquito? Hello. You won't be able to get him. Yeah, that's just not. Oh my god, Birdie's destroying these guys. Holy shit.
Thoughts on pen, pineapple, apple pen? Thoughts?
Oh, weapon?
Thoughts on pen, pineapple, apple pen?
Dude, that shit's so old. Bro, it was like 2018 meme, no? Pen, pineapple, apple, pen.
Oops, sorry, I just blocked us both off.
I can't tell if
I know
this
what you're talking about now.
It's actually a kid.
Oh, I've got arrows. Oh,
Wait, why is he
he's
whispering?
5 hearts, 6 hearts, 5 hearts and a half, actually.
Wait, man. Oh, it's a whole nother team. Turn right, Birdie. Yes.
Right.
Uh-oh. Good luck, guys.
It's a Voma. No, I'm dead.
GG. Holy frick, man. You gotta somehow clean this, Birdie. Get ahead and just respawn me. We fucking win.
Close it down.
GG. You died, man. Unlucky. Unlucky, man. GG's.
Yo, coming to you.
Leave me alone.
Yeah, Birdie, good luck. Oh, he's on 1. He's on 1. He's on 1 heart.
Yo,
You got this. No. He's coming back. He's on 9. GG. GG's. Let's just go again. Nothing happened. I'm nicking though. I'm not.
You're not nicking?
Yeah, I'm nicking. I don't. I'm not playing Nick, bro, because they're just not gonna vote for anyone. They're gonna vote for some random teammate. What's up, H1? How are you? It's a dude. It got me so mad. Like I just wanted to quit. Once we got farming, I just like why the kid just want 2 gaps? It's like it's 8 gold, bro. Literally, it's 8 gold. 8 gold and 2 hearts. Like okay. Honest, I watched all your videos. What was my last upload? You got 10 seconds. See this? 10, 9, 8. GG's. Like nice, bro.
Somebody back to die more? Let's go. Yeah,
Andres,
what's up, dude?
Andres,
Yo, eat your gapple, bitch.
oh my
This
god,
guy's
this
one
guy.
shot. But punch him. He's one shot. Yeah, huge.
I played 100 games of hoplite, and this is what I learned. I've learned that people would like to go farming, but they don't seem to have a brain.
Yo, guys, it's one shot. This guy's one shot. He's one shot.
Okay, this booster guy.
I'll boost you. He's one shot, bro.
Chat, this booster guy annoying. Chat, thoughts on this booster guy being annoying? Micromana, but switching inventory. Yes, correct.
Guys, it's Campius.
/ ban booster.
It's Campius, guys.
Andres Kier is
God.
better.
Yes, reach. Yes, actually reach. Oh my
Wait,
goodness.
Booster. Is it not smart if I upload hoplite on my main channel? Or no, should I just keep that away from? I don't know. It's scary, isn't it? Because don't I have a majority?
Wait to hide. You better hide.
Should I take the risk, chat? I don't know if I should take the risk. Because people are used to like 20-minute manhunts, and if they see like a 10-minute video, they're like, "Oh, what the fuck? I'm used to him being another in 10 minutes." I mean, unless like it gets edited to the part where it's like 20-minute long. I don't know. Should I try it? Fuck, I'm just scared, bruh. I'm scared that I just lose everything. Well, but I mean, Bob did MCC and didn't really hurt his channel when MCCI came out.
I've done different stuff as well.
You think like if it doesn't hit and I try to upload a manhunt, the manhunt won't get affected? You know what I mean?
Manhunt will get affected, yeah.
Oh, it will. That's exactly, yeah.
Dude, this
Like,
Campius guy's just targeting me, bro.
Like if I upload a hoplite video and then I upload a manhunt, it'll affect the views, right? It'll like make it worse.
I mean, it depends.
What do you
If
mean?
your hoplite video does really well, it could boost your manhunt views. Plus, if your hoplite videos would do better than manhunts, then you know you could always just become a hoplite YouTuber, you know.
Yeah, but then just there goes my YouTube. Like it's just like I'm throwing for my YouTube, you know. That's why I'm just I don't know. Like yeah, like I'm trying to say is like if I take the risk of uploading manhunts on my main channel, and I just switch over to back to manhunts, if it doesn't do good, it's just like
By the way, there's a guy with the reach on the server.
Name? What's his name? What's his name?
Skin. So
Oh, Deffer 2021.
Yeah.
Good. We gotta go another. You gotta go another this game. Like actually, there's another Russian team.
I'll try, but yeah, this guy is using blatant reach.
Frey's in this game as well. Who's Frey with?
It's kind of crazy, like there he just missed the cursor, but otherwise he's just using blatant reach. So if the rest of the lobby is watching and they're stream sniping, just kill that guy because he's using blatant reach.
We have Jack on our team.
That is not decent at all.
There's a lava pool to the right of us. Oh, Sphinx are here. We're spawning another thing. So I'm gonna just go down on it. There's 2 lava pools. Do you see that? Whisper?
There's multiple lava pools.
Okay, just go another. You gotta go. Yeah, just try to rush in there if you can.
This seems decent.
I had a good apple. can make Midas. I'm rushing Midas. I have a Death 3 book as well.
Yeah, just try Midas.
I also have 10 gunpowder, so you can rush Midas and Midas worth it. Yeah, if I get a lot of kills early on. I just gotta be up like fast, dude.
Depends though. Save your thing.
Yeah.
We might get katanas.
Yeah. Can you go nether or no? Wait,
Yeah,
Jack,
yeah.
you're my team, bro. You didn't have to ask. Nice shaft, nice. Fast servicing for 0-0. We're going nether first, so we'll see how the game goes with nether. Hi, Bablu. How are you live, bro? I just literally. Oh, there's a temple here. I don't think anyone got it.
Bob was is awake right now. That's crazy.
Yeah, Bob was awake. I think he's probably going to sleep soon though. Wait, I don't think anyone got it in here. Maybe. Yeah, no one went to this temple.
Nice.
I don't really want to. We can also. I have a prop 4 book. Okay. We can low-key rush Artemis for everyone too. We just want to do that too. What the fuck? Did I put my Destiny book in there?
God damn it.
What is it?
It's a far
Bastion?
Either
Oh, good luck. Is there a spawner?
Bastion. It's far
Oh.
though, no. Whoever spawns on it will get it, because I'm like a lava pool away.
Fuck.
I don't think I can get there.
Just try.
Yeah, I will try. I'll try. But
Thanks, babe. Thanks, babe. Thanks, babe. I just got up? No way.
I legit have to swim in a lava pool. What is this?
Oh, no. Dude, Lucky. Fire fucking snacks, bro. I love the popcorn, bro. W popcorn, W everything. I love you, Lucky.
It's my favorite type of Bastion. I just don't get it. That's so stupid. Wait, what if I just go under lava and mine? Yo, Loki, strat?
Yeah, it's definitely looted.
The Bastion?
No, the... Well, yeah, that too.
Yeah, 100%, bro. It's crazy. No, not Blackstone. Come on. Let me insta-mine. See what I can cook up with this. Imagine if I still get Bastion, though.
That'd be crazy. I doubt it, though. Good luck, though.
Yeah, I doubt it as well.
I look, he could want to rush, what's it called? If we can find enough diamonds, rushing Artemis and...
Okay, I'm close to the Bastion.
Oh?
Wait, hold up.
We'll see. We'll find out right now. Someone there already?
Yeah, I'll be at the bottom as well. I'll just go for the bottom instantly.
How long do you have enough for? Dude, I woke up at... woke up at 9 p.m. That's a response to your DM, bro.
Wait, I get it. I get it.
You do. Get it.
Okay,
You
I
good?
got the chest.
What do you
I
get?
got the chest, but I got netherite ingot and
Nice.
ancient debris.
Okay.
I'm going up.
You can make Moilner.
Yeah.
You got the gold too?
No, I got like 3 blocks for now, but I can get the top.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay.
Yeah, I will get.
Wait, so you got another right?
Nice.
There's scrap?
I got 2 ancient debris, 1 netherite scrap, and an ingot, so we can. Go
Oh, okay. 3 katanas, yeah. Yo, Bert, did you hear that? 3 katanas.
Yeah.
9 p.m. Yeah, I woke up at 9 p.m.
No, somebody's up top here.
I woke up at 9 p.m. and I made chicken tenders in my air fryer. And then, yeah. Fire protein snack. Fire. The only thing is, I didn't dip them in shit. I just had fucking like, oh, I don't even want to tell you what I dipped them in. I love you, Lucky. I fucking love you, bro. W Lucky Mix. Chat, Lucky Mix bought me snacks for my house.
I'm getting some gold blocks as well, so that's huge.
G freaking G. Yo, hold up.
I
Wait
got
a
12
second.
gold blocks. 12 gold blocks.
Nice.
Fairy's here. Why is Fairy in this lobby, bro?
Is he leather?
Yeah, he is.
Wait, Furry was like one barring earlier. See if he's still one barring.
Wait, I'm gonna get you. Wait, so you don't want to rush Artemis? No,
Huh?
The thing. You don't want to rush Midas anymore?
No.
Okay.
I just use a gap for healing, I
have
guess.
10 crying obby as well, by the way.
Oh, W. Not that it matters, but. I love you, Lucky Mix. I forgot that my cat is outside, bruh. Why your cat inside? What the dog doing though? The fuck?
Barry, come on. Willer hide. Is he straight up just gonna troll me, man?
Wow, what's happening?
Come on, man. Just back off, dude. This is just straight up targeting. There's an entire bastion, bro.
Say that you get it. Say that you get
Yeah,
it.
then why are you here? This guy intentionally steals my trades. Like, what is this? Okay, I got 3 fire charges.
Let's get out. I'm trying to find diamonds. You need 8 diamonds total. You can just rush.
Iron as well.
Yeah, I can get iron. 40 for myself. We gotta play with 5 up, bro. I can't wait to see 5 up. Play this game. Stock. Oh fuck! I found diamonds. The fuck? Little sneaky Are you fucking serious? Okay. Just don't dupe them. It's fine. Got 3 diamonds on me.
Oh, it's just here. Looted though. That's the question.
Too far. Andres, I'm trying to get everyone addicted. I know. Sorry. I have 3 diamonds. Bet. Can I have them? You probably hear me through my stream. Wait, Foray. What team is Foray on? Oh, he's on the Frost team.
Yeah, he is. I'm sorry.
W. I got 7 diamonds. You're poor. Okay. I'm like, what? Meow, 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 meow.
Just trying to find that portal right now.
Wait, check. Can someone do explain my followers real quick? I wonder if I have if I had 12k yet. I might be 11.9 still. It says 12k. Oh shit! Someone do followers. Explain followers. Explain followers. Followers. Is this for? Wait, what song is this? This is. What is this singing?
Are you guys getting extra iron from me, by the way? So I'll
Yeah. Grab apples. I got iron for you.
And also, I only have 2 obsidians, so you guys will need to
Okay, get iron obby.
get 4 each for enchant table, and then 4 katanas.
Can you get obby? Do you have katana for me or not? Yeah, we have. Do you have diamonds, Birdie? For yourself?
Yeah, we need. Did you get diamonds for us?
If you have-
For me, by the way?
I have 3 diamonds total. No, I have 3 diamonds. That's all I have. I need to mine 3 more. Or I need to mine fucking 5 more. Keep trying. Keep looking. Keep looking. I found more diamonds. 1 fucking vein, bro. Okay, I have 2. Oh wait, no, it goes bigger. Okay, I have 6 diamonds. I still need 2 more
What?
diamonds for enchants. That's it. Well, no, because I have 6 diamonds total, so that's 2 for 6, and all we need now is just 2
Yeah, we have
diamonds
2
for enchants.
swords and enchants. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess 2 swords is better than.
Yeah. So I got some gold.
Wait, what? Are you trolling? Wait, so do we have everything now? Wait, can you get obby, Birdie? Just get obby. Get obby. I think we have enough. I have 4 obby, bet.
I'm gonna start moving.
And then you have 2. I have to make my own obby then.
Start moving to you.
Yeah, bet. What's your healing, by the way? You said you have like a lot of gaps.
I have 9
Is that-
gaps and then 38 gold for you guys to craft some.
Yeah, it's a god apple in my inventory. I think I can maybe find. Never mind. This is might be all looted. Unless it's not. Oh, this person went nether.
Oh, I forgot that I have an ingot. We can do Mjolnir. Or
Yeah, we
sharp
can.
for katana.
Sharp for katana. How do you make sharp for katana?
Somebody drops sharp 3 sword, then you turn it with an ingot and then combine it with katana.
Wait, what?
You can combine katana with netherite sword. So we drop
Wait,
somebody
what?
with the sharp who rush sharp 3 diamond. We
But you
turn
can do that?
into netherite. Yeah,
Who told you?
I've done it before. I've
What?
combined. Yeah, I've gotten a sharp 4 katana like that.
I'm coming up, by the way. I have iron for you.
Yeah.
And diamonds. I seen
You have
water. I seen obsidian,
Do you have
but
a chance?
no. Me,
Wait, what are
with
you missing for enchants?
just obsidian in a book.
Okay, I'm
Can
grabbing
I
some
get the
everything.
diamond? Question mark. Jaka. Meet up. Okay. Meet up with me.
Yeah, I have some leather and
Said I had them bad grades. I was in love with my tutor.
I will have 3 books only, so
Okay.
Birdie needs to get a book.
Bet. You have? Wait, damn. W. Wait, someone do exploration followers for me, please.
I'm surprised I still managed to get so much from a faction when I was literally 50 blocks away and I had.
It's Toasty next to me. Also, I have a prop 4 book, just FYI.
Oh shit.
Oh, Toasty's lagging or server lagging? Oh, Toasty's lagging. Oh. Chat, don't look. Wait. What the fuck?
How do you craft lodestone, by the way?
Oh yeah, glowstone, yep.
How do you
Oh,
craft lodestone?
I was. Yo, Toasty, hey man.
You fuck that.
What? Well, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. You're seeing things, man. What's up, man?
No.
Hey, Toasty, what's up, man? Bye, Toasty. Yo, Toasty, get that. Yo, get. Oh, fuck.
Oh,
What is
Toast-
happening? Stop trolling.
I'm not trolling. I'm locking in.
I'm 176 blocks away.
I'm
Toasty?
gonna kill you with
Dinosaurs?
my. I don't have a crafting table, so I can't actually craft.
Toasty,
anything,
sir.
so-
Please don't follow me, Toasty.
Well, you're getting followed
Actually.
by.
Social
people with
distance.
Oh my god, why do I have to do
Hey.
this, man?
Yeah. Toasty, I heard if you build up very, very high and then you fall down, you get like prop 4 armor. No choice to try it.
Wait, drift blocks? Because all I have is rails.
No, but there's trees that you can mine.
I don't have a fucking pickaxe, mate.
Look behind you.
What?
Which?
Toss me a diamond sword as well.
Pick it up.
Guys, diamonds. Wait, I have those too.
Yeah, give me.
Hey, Toasty, what's up, man? All right, cool.
Hey. Look at these.
Oh.
Wait, Andres, here.
What?
Wait,
Why do you make pants, bro? Holy shit.
wait.
Okay,
why don't I
do
make
you
a
need
sword?
obby for
I just said Obby.
enchants, or-
Yeah, I seen Obby for enchants now.
I
We gotta
have
find
one
Obby.
Yo.
Oh, Birdie's here.
Yo. You have Obby?
Yo.
Yeah, wait, I should
Why?
probably like get out
Passing
of here.
1. Okay. Well, I can make enchants then. Okay, well, our teammate will give you the thing then.
Nice. Also, here's 4 light apples.
Alright, okay.
And
You have apples?
then I'll split up.
38 gold.
Oh,
38 gold?
never
Fuck.
mind.
Okay.
Give Andre some gold then.
No, wait, hold on. Let me look for lava real quick. Oh, dude, we're at 0-0, bro.
Do you have
just-
do you have obby, by the way?
Vote me. Vote offense. He gave me all the Obby. We just gotta find more, bro. We're at 0-0 though, so we gotta get the hell out of here.
I'll give you a
Two
book as
lava
well.
buckets if you want to use them.
Yeah, I'll use that. Pass me 1.
Andres, vote for yourself.
I did. There we go.
Nice.
Okay, I can make katana real quick. I make katana. Here's an
Oh,
inch tool.
wait, yeah, Birdie. Yeah,
Sharpness 1. You guys have any books left over?
No, but I don't have any lapis. Can somebody spare some lapis?
Yeah, take this.
Wait, I don't have any levels? Let me get some
I
sand real
just
quick.
need 2 obby and
Yeah, we'll just go to our teammate. I think he had the diamonds for you. Wait, Booster, give Birdie the katana or the thing for katana.
I gave it.
Okay. Let's just go to Chaka then. Gotta go to him. Booster, we're not going with you, by the way. We're gonna go to this over here.
Yeah. You coming? Pretty
Come on.
kind of lagging. Oh, never mind.
You guys are at 0-0. You guys gotta come with me. He's gonna drop. Where's Toasty? I want to kill Toasty.
Nobody goes to 0-0 early.
Where the fuck did Toasty go?
No, Toasty
Toast?
ran away.
Did he
The
actually?
opposite direction. Yeah. We need to meet up and get some stuff.
I'm going to our teammate, by the way. He has the diamonds that we need.
Yeah.
Go to where you last saw me. Wait. Toasty's logged out, by the way. Apparently he lagged out. He can't join back.
Okay.
My chat right now. You should just be a zombie.
We need to play something when we get the chance.
You just died. We gotta go to that. Solo to solo. It's team 2 actually. What's EU on? You guys are not with me, bruh.
Yeah, no. I don't know why we're going here.
Okay, yeah, we can just back up. We can fight in the actual.
No. Do you wanna fight this? I don't think we should fight this.
Yeah, we can kill him. Okay, let's
We're
go.
not enchanted. Okay.
I have enchanted sword.
I just have iron sword.
They have katanas as well.
You do? No, you don't. Good, you had. Take team that guy. I can't get this guy by myself. I think this guy's low. This goes on 16. Still on 5. Got him. Going back to you guys, Booster. Stay alive.
It's so stupid, man. Like, 14.
Nice, good shit. Any diamonds on him?
Do you have his
No.
sword?
Yeah, Jocko has the diamonds for you. Jocko, pass me the diamonds. Pass him the diamonds. Yeah, there you go. Take that.
Yeah, hurry up, by the way.
Okay, I'm here. I have the G head already. Eat it. There you go. Any books? Any books?
I need 2
You got any 2 obby? Fuck. Okay. We'll find obby for you in a bit. I need lapis, bro.
Here, take.
Be careful that nobody jumps us, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I want that book. I need to get a book ASAP. There's people here. I mean, there's like leather, but
Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
what happened?
I just don't get sharpness on my sword, nor the book. What is this?
I'm gonna get this book real quick.
Yo, Birdie, can you check my katana, by the way, if you have extra levels?
Am I back?
If you can get sharpness on it?
Leave the enchant table there.
Thank you. Also, here's a book. If you get extra levels, check it as well, because I just
Yeah.
wasn't getting it.
I didn't get it.
Okay. Toss it to Andres. Maybe he can check. Do you have extra books, by the way, Andres, or no?
No, only one. I'm trying to get sharpness for myself too.
Yeah.
I don't have sharpness.
Okay. You have extra books, by the way.
Huh?
I gave you like 2. I gave you 2 extra books, so
Okay.
recycle them.
Well, let me just enchant my chest plate real quick, and then. Nope.
Yeah, do shovel enchantments, maybe.
Oh my god.
Actually, toss me 1 book if you can.
Take that.
Toss it.
Bro, like, can we please get sharpness, bro?
Yeah, I'm not getting it.
You have any lapis?
Lapis? No, I only have a 29. Here, take.
Behind you, Birdie. Behind you, Birdie.
Oh,
Behind
push
you,
your
Birdie.
ties.
If you guys have glass bottles, let me know.
Someone else picked it up. What the fuck?
I think Andres picked it up.
Here, take this. Right there. I have 41 bones. I need to keep that.
So
Wait, I have a prop 4
stupid.
book, bro.
Yeah, put that on. What are you doing?
All right, prop 4 leggings, bug. Yeah, why are we, this? I hate this fucking biome.
Cool.
I hate this biome so much.
Yeah. By the way, I have glass here on Birdie.
Okay. I hate this. I hate this. I'm claustrophobic. Oh my god. My inventory is just messed up too. I hate it. Let's get...
I've enchanted like 4 shovels, bro. Please. I'm gonna lose my mind. Yep, I'm just accepting that I don't get sharpness.
Oh my, okay, I can get sharpness. Fuck yeah. I need lapis. I threw my lapis out.
Here.
Oh my god. Okay, I'm freaking out.
If you can get, if check your book after as well.
Yeah.
Check the book after as well.
I can get sharpness again.
Nice, huge.
You go.
Huge. Where's
Sharp 2. Sharp 3. Okay, let's go. Oh my god, finally, bro. And a bow.
That took so long. I'm ready.
Same. We just gotta find. Oh, you're like in front of
A
us.
pearl and everything. By the way, what's your healing?
6 gaps.
Okay. I have 9, so I can tank more.
Just be careful with trappers. And Willerhead might be having a... Yeah, Willerhead's OP. It's a Milo. This guy's trapping. He's not. He's just clueless. W kill seal.
Do you have a redstone, by the way? Or
But there's obby here. They can get obby here. Oh, I can make obby for you here. Take that. And
do
then
you
I
have
can make one
redstone
more.
or gold, by the way?
Yeah, I have gold. I can make a jihad.
Okay. Birdie, do you have redstone?
Wait, no, you're trying to P-box the head.
I am.
And then here, don't P-box. We need
I'm
the
an
head.
extra diamond sword, by the way, Birdie, if you want to craft it.
The board bit. Wait, I already said hi to you.
I don't know if
Hi
you
again.
tried it already.
Do you have the enchant table?
Well, interesting. Who picked it up? Someone picked it up. Wait, over here.
Ooh, wait, one more.
Very
teammate just
enthusiast. Yeah, teammates are dying.
Teammate is getting.
Oh my
jumped on
god, bro.
That's not good.
Run right.
He does not have mic. Oh, he has I'm pulling on this guy.
They have katana.
Got him. Dropped him.
Dropped him. Oh,
Nice.
nice. Huge. Okay, redstone. Oh, do you have 3 diamonds, by the way? Let me know if you get 3 diamonds. I can craft Mjolnir soon. I just need to get my things.
I have 1.
Okay. Spare it. Save it.
It's probably still need gaps, low key.
Our teammates have been dropping people with gaps and just picking them up, so just ask for them.
Nope.
I have
I dropped an apple
diamond
somewhere. There it is.
pick. I have a diamond pick, by the way.
Dude, my inventory is so cloggy, dude.
Teammate, take the E-tip.
Someone took it. Yo, L teammates, bro. Holy. You have redstone? Teammate?
Redstone?
Redstone, yeah.
I have redstone.
Wait, this guy had more netherite scrap. One netherite scrap here. Triangle LB.
Anyone have
Apple's not. This one. All the girls are pretty.
Okay, I crafted the lodestone already.
Give me a fire aspect or sharp 3. Or 16 gold. That works. I just need
Okay,
more
ooh.
apples.
I have gold, nice. Okay, I have 2 G-Jets, nice.
Same.
I dropped another knockback 1, sharpness 1 katana, but I'm not gonna give it to any teammates because they're just gonna punch people away. So I'm
Yep.
just gonna hold it.
I'm gonna sit down right, mate.
Birdie already has this as well. Do you have yeah. Save the diamond, by the way. We need
Yep.
3 for Mjolnir. Okay, that's nice. Do you have any wood, by the way? No, never mind.
I'm so faded. I'll use the helmet later, actually.
Oh, did I just see a name tag underground here? Or no?
Be careful, don't. Might be able to hide. He might be trapping. With the frickin' thing.
Birdie is not here, by the way. So.
He's with me. He's not. But you're with me.
No, he's not here. Not here.
I see a guy here. Besides mushroom hat, just pop out of nowhere.
Okay.
Damn, 1 year, 6 months, Milo. Good shit. 2 guys right here.
Yep. What's your TPs?
What?
I have two. Well, how
I have
many
2 TPs. Two.
Okay, same. I think Birdie is like connecting with us, so that's good.
I just send cords.
By anybody.
No, we don't need help. Or just send cords just in case you don't know where we're at.
Yeah. We just don't wanna use
Oh,
it
there's
for
3 guys now.
office.
They're gonna fight us. Please, 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 please. It's 4 people, 5 people, 6 people. We need help.
Yeah, we do need help. I mean,
Does anyone have boots?
actually, no,
They're
no,
all
no,
full
no, no,
irons.
I get dropped super fast with prot 1. I do
Yeah,
not want to take
yeah,
this.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
also more people on the
Yeah, let's fight them.
There's two.
Yeah, fight.
Oh,
Uh-oh. We're multiplying.
it's dragon.
Okay.
Oh.
Stay or fight. Stay or
Going.
fight.
I have 2 GS.
There's 2 of them.
Oh my god.
Take on the guy. Nice. He chopped the
The
head.
guy with the GS.
Oh man, quick.
Dash on him. Nice. Please have diamonds on you.
I G had
I
it.
don't have any.
I'm sorry.
Dude, what the fuck is this?
Jeez. What? Booster, don't die. Get down. It's TP away.
Okay,
I'm coming.
nice. I had to pop 2 GS. I'm dropping like fly. It's crazy. Wait. Why is he
What?
going through everybody to get me? Like, I don't get this. I'm nicked.
Bro, just
I
run.
don't understand this.
Where are you at? I'm coming.
No, but like that's the thing. Nah, I'm good. I'm chilling. But it's
They
like
see that you're low though. That's the
every
thing.
time. No, they don't.
Oh.
That's
Oh,
the thing.
GG,
I'm
you
not
suck.
low.
Wait, what?
I'm not low. Oh,
You're on 21. You killed him already? Oh, they killed him. Oh, it's a guy. It's Jokus. Hello,
What's your diamonds,
Jokus.
by the way?
1.
Anybody got diamonds? I'm trying to get Mjolnir.
No.
Okay, give me.
No. My team is gonna kill you. Don't let my teammate kill you, please.
Andres, come back to us, by the way.
I'm chasing a guy. Full iron chasing for me. Oh,
Thank you.
I don't want to
Do
bow
you have a diamond,
you.
Andres? Can I get a
Yeah, I
diamond?
do. Yeah. It's the first of the month. Oh, he was speedboxing hats too. Just come to me. Do you have a compass?
Why are you away from us, bro? Yeah, I had to use G heads in that 2 G heads
Yes.
in that fight.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
It's unfortunate. It's so easy to actually drop with Prot 1.
Dude, I have a lot of gold.
Yeah. I have 13 gaps. I've already used up all my.
Shadows.
It's okay. Here. Have me a diamond. Nice. Huge. By the way, somebody told me about a glitch. I think it was Floatwise who told me about a glitch.
Yeah, you can fishing around the thing. That's bannable though. It's bug abusing.
No.
Oh, what?
You can spam hit with it with 1.8 PvP when it's lightning somebody, and every hit does the same amount of damage.
What?
Cooldown. I think it's a troll personally. I don't think it works, but I'm gonna try to 5-hit somebody because it does so much damage. If that is true, then it should be patched. So I'm not gonna abuse it if it.
Yeah,
like,
just
works on
DM
purpose.
Inferno about it, or Eric.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just shouldn't be a thing. Because it's just straight up just bug abusing. I'm gonna try it once, but.
Okay. Pro said.
No, I just.
I want to try it
I
out
have to,
and see. Okay.
yeah, I want to see if it's actually true because I could just be getting trolled. Birdie's not getting chased. That's everybody.
I
Oh,
have,
wait, 0-0,
I have 22 gaps, by the way. Yeah, I have 22.
I have 13. I'm fine as well.
Birdie, what's your healing, by the way, Birdie? Yo, birdie, I'm right behind you. What's your healing? Or gaps? Here, take some gaps.
Yeah, by the way, let's try to not like cross you heads.
Yeah, just come. Just yeah. Yeah, we'll just go together, birdie. Me and you.
What's in your katana? Sharp 3?
Sharp 3, yeah. Try to get a sharp 3 book, then G work on G, you know?
You need fire aspect.
By the way, apparently it's patched. Apparently it was working.
The Mjolnir thing?
Yeah,
Patched?
yeah.
Okay,
That's something chat said. There's another port over here if you wanna go over here.
I'm in the swamp looking for people. I have a pearl, so I can pearl out. Don't worry about me.
Oh, okay. Just don't drop with the pearl. Lol.
Yep.
I don't wanna. Oh yeah, I am dumb. I have iron and I have bones.
Yeah, I don't have any redstone to gamble, bro.
Northwest booster.
Northwest. I am northwest.
Don't wanna. Hi, Dan Jeff.
Are you going to the swamp or no?
Yeah, I'm at the swamp right now.
Yeah, I'm here too.
Just running northwest where my dogs are pointing.
Cords.
Oh, I heard that. It's foray.
Cords?
0-0, like 150, like 250.
Okay.
What? Where's my dog pointing, bro?
Oh, I
Foray's
heard
over
that
here.
as well.
Yeah.
It's in the swamp. I see you guys going. Did you see Ferry or no?
Nope. See loot that he killed though.
Birdie should start walking towards us though. They could just be super stacked.
You could.
If Birdie wasn't the bash, I don't know how early or late he came in.
I don't even know where the dogs went though.
Yeah, the dogs probably got stuck.
Come this way. On me. I'm coming.
Where?
This way. 250 blocks. I need to eat food right here again.
I have 35 bread. I can give you. Here's
Oh, I picked up all this shit.
bread.
Where?
Bread if you
I have kick stick actually. I don't want your meat.
Okay.
You coming, Birdie? On 26. He's on 8, 9, 6, 4. What? Nice. Birdie, good shit.
Damn. Okay, Birdie. Okay.
Dad, I'm a grinder.
Birdie's just cracked out there.
I'm going.
Oh, stop falling, bro. What are you doing? Am I going the right direction at all?
Maybe. We should probably just here. Take this booster. Here, take this. They already killed him, so here, take this. Iron, redstone, and bones. You make your things. I said my friend request, bro. I already accepted yours, did I not, Dan Jeff? Here you go, Dan Jeff.
What the fuck?
Yeah. All right. You have weapon?
Do you want me to
Yeah.
pop it?
Yeah. Please. Yeah. Why not? All right. Cool.
Backwards.
Yeah. This way. On Hypixel, there was a probably basically the same craft, but instead it was a compass that would like literally have a pointing arrow to where the nearest person was, like a red, like a out of particles. It was
Yeah,
pretty
no,
cool.
I think we used that.
You seen it before?
I think I've seen it before. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. They're saying hi to you. Say back, hi back, or else you're just banned, bro.
Who? Wait, I'm hot
Yes.
micing this entire game. I just realized.
Yeah, now you know how I feel when I'm solo running it and I'm just telling everyone like, hi chat. Everyone's like, oh, Andres, by the way, your mic is unmuted. Ah, well, fuck.
Yeah, stop hot micing, bro. You're revealing your identity. Oh, was there a name tags under here?
I don't know. Do you see some?
No, I thought I saw.
You have like amazing eyesight, by the way. I can never tell if there's someone on the ground. Meow.
Maybe it's just the fact that I have a.
Oh, they could be no. They could be the village. Fuck. Wait, so can you get sharp 10 now with Emerald Sword?
I don't know. I don't think anyone's ever gonna get sharp 10 with an emerald sword though. Like that's just. That's what.
see someone
5
here.
stacks of emeralds. Here. Is Birdie walking towards us or no? It's good if we kill somebody right now.
Yeah.
Whole team.
Whole team. Well.
It is the red team.
Bonjour, je vois l'adresse. Je m'appelle.
11. KD is on 11. Oh, they're Spanish.
Je m'appelle. Hello, hello, hello. Got him. Jesus.
Got one right before that.
Yeah, nice. Huge.
I will pop my wolves and just go for kills, by the way.
Okay.
So you get all the healing middle. You guys go for healing middle, we'll go for kills.
Yeah, what he said. Oh, I see people over here.
Yeah.
Well, be careful with her, by the way. He might be placing Oh, well, that guy is just...
Oh, help. Zero.
You're by yourself, bro. No.
Oh no.
Holy shit, what a satisfying kill, bro.
Hey.
יותר מהר ממני, הוא עם צ'יטים, הוא עם ריץ'.
Yo, way to hide, what's up, dude? What is up, bro? Yo, what is up, bro? Don't worry, I'll help you, bro.
Dude,
Oh,
dude.
this guy lagged? Oh my god. Yo, goodbye, dude.
Yo, bro, why is everyone on me? This is
They got you,
crazy.
cowboy.
Guy here?
Got him.
This guy's literally on 10. Oh my god, I missed. No way. Yo, come back, bro. Nay, come back, bro. GG's, bro.
GG's.
Wait, watch this kill. Watch this kill still.
Wait.
Oh my god, did I kill? Did I steal
No,
that?
you didn't.
Oh my god, so close. GG's. Insane game, actually. Wait, 8 kills? 20 team kills?
That's 7. What the fuck? Yeah, what was...
Hey,
Everyone was
nether
like
rush.
just dead, man.
Nether rush.
Who had top kills that
Nether
game?
rush, bro.
Witherhide had 8 kills.
Nether rush, bro. I
GG
killed
chat.
still so much, bro. I killed still so much, bro.
We go again.
We go again. Dude,
I
I
saw-
am so... You should have seen, by the way, like, where I spawned, the pie chart didn't load in anything.
Gotta go, Beber.
Until like 3 seconds later. And then I just don't see the bastion. I F5 and I barely see the bottom of it across a lava lake. So I just jump straight into the lava lake and I barely make it there.
Jesus.
Kind of crazy. Yeah, I don't know how I got any loot whatsoever. The guy that took the bottom chest, by the way, no,
Mhm.
he didn't even take the bottom chest. He just started mining gold at the bottom. I still got some gold blocks and got the entire chest. So it's like, I'll take it, dude.
No way.
3 nether scrap and netherite ingots. Kinda broken, dude. Yo, Willerhide is hiding right now, by the way. Just letting you know.
What do you mean he's hiding?
He's just straight up hiding. He got absolutely destroyed, bro.
Well, I go pee.
By Eugene.
He said, I go pee. Boost for BRB.
Okay. Yo, guys, what do you think about Eugene? Do you guys like Eugene? Hide from the ginger. What music is I'm just listening to right now? What the fuck is this? You guys are genuinely enjoying this music? Nah, guys. What is this music? Come on now. Let me play something for you. Let me play some real music for you guys.
Booster, what? What the fuck did I come? Wait, is it that one song? The Giga Chat song? Eugene Fitzherbert.
Yeah.
What?
Yep. Your stream is now copyrighted.
Yo, fuck you, asshole. What's wrong with you? Why?
Oh, your stream is now copyrighted, bro. I
Who
just
would've
didn't like the
never
music that I was
guessed?
hearing on your stream, bro. So I had to change it up. you
Dude,
know?
what now? We like the song right now?
Let me listen to this.
Somewhere far along this road, he lost his soul. What? Bro, you have no taste in music in general. Like,
Okay, bro. Okay, Mr. NPC, who just
Dude,
listens to songs that other people listen to. Like, come on. man.
what?
Hello? Have your own
What?
opinion. Have your own taste. Hello?
What the fuck are you talking? Wembu's on. Message Wembu.
Oh my god.
Play Civ with Boostford and I. Things that we've been through. Okay, fuck Wembu, bro. Wait, you might have gotten. No, wait, Wembu logged off.
Yep. Fuck you, I guess.
Spam him. Party. Invite Wembu. Party. He said I run a few, but then I gotta edit. Perfect. I just invited Booster to my party. Add to VC? Fuck. How do we add Wembu to the VC?
If you add him to the Discord, he'll just hack everything. We can just make a group.
Did you say he would just have everything? You just hack everything?
He would just hack everything. Yeah.
Okay. Make a group. Don't here. No. Don't make a group. I already have. I can.
make a group.
No. I'm not making another one. I have one here. I'm not making a third group, bruh.
Yellow.
Qndres.
Yo, what's on, fool, bro?
Wembu changed his profile picture. That's crazy.
Wembu and Boost for
It's not purple anymore.
No.
You're using TP aura.
Yeah.
Yo.
Yo.
What's up, Wembu?
What's up,
Yellow.
Wembu?
Yeah, hello. Wait.
Yellow.
Minute Ben? Wait a second.
Dominating hoplite civ.
That's me.
/@boostford.
I got. Wait. My fault. My fault,
You
Wembu.
forgot to say that I got more kills than you in the last.
Shut up, bruh.
Wait, why is it green, dude? That's like kick.com.
Wait. With Boost for and. I got you, bro.
Dude, fire breath, man. Oh, that's the Minecraft Monday guy.
Yeah. There you go.
I just woke up.
Oh, really?
Well, not like
Wait,
just woke up, but
Wait,
like
cool. Wait, read my title now. Read my title.
remember your title, bro. I gotta tab back into your title.
Yeah.
Wait.
Which rush nether?
At X minute, yes sir.
Yes, sir.
Wait, where are we dropping?
Just anywhere. Boost for now will rush nether. Or, hopefully.
I will try. No promises though.
You're rushing nether. You are gonna rush nether because I'm telling you to rush nether.
I'm not seeing any water where I'm dropping, bro. What do you mean?
Yeah. How are you, Wemba?
Okay.
What?
Dude, like, what do I do? Because I like get full iron in like 5 minutes, and then I just don't know what to do for like the rest of the 10 minutes.
Just get diamonds. Try to find diamonds.
Diamonds.
But like,
books,
I run out of like caves.
Resurface or strip mine. I simply.
It's so cringe, bro.
I know, I'm cringe, sorry.
It's okay, I forgive you.
Okay.
It's not looking like another game, dude.
Yes, it is, Mr. Clear comes. Why clearing come? Why you whispering? Why the fuck
I'm
are
going
you
straight
whispering?
down into this cave, and if there's no water source down here, then I get. Oh my god, diamonds! I'm jumping straight down.
Yeah, you're welcome, buddy.
Yeah.
Well, what?
Wait, so Wembu.
Mm-hmm.
Is your name actually Tequavis? Wait, what's your real name, bro?
It's Dequavis. It's Qndres.
Oh wait, really? Bro,
Yeah, it's
what? How? Wait, how do you have my name?
Qndres. Turn around.
Oh, yeah. Wait
What?
a second. Wait a
I'm not
second.
signing up for this, bro.
Wait, me either. Wait a second. What's up, Bob Mitchell? Yo, I am in your game. Can I friend you? Yeah, man, of course.
Dude, there's no iron. Oh, there's iron. Yay, iron.
Not sure if I'll add you though.
By the way,
You can friend me.
I'm not going under, by the way. Just
You're not going nether. You're throwing them.
Dude,
I
we do
just
not
can't,
care.
there's the-
We do not care. Wait, what the fuck? I care. No, I'm nether right now. Come to me, Booster. I'm already another. Oh, and of course I spawned in a fucking. It's Bastion.
Can we
And I'm
find
not
a
gonna...
rec rap 1 and kill him?
Sure.
Yay! Oh my
I see the
God,
Bastion,
whenever
by the
I hold
way.
the stick, my screen just like completely, just like explodes.
I'm swimming in lava booster. Same thing you were doing earlier.
Hopefully you know.
It's a
the
bridge.
Luda Bastion.
I know how to loot a Bastion's bridge. I know and everything.
You know where the lodestone chest is?
Yeah. Right side, middle. Yeah. What's up, connection? No, these are like everything. It's same maps but different structures spawn differently. Not same maps. It's like different maps. I think there's like a couple of different maps.
The moms are the same structures or not?
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, and don't hate me for this, but I think destroying lonely is L.
The what?
Wait,
So is
Booster,
he-
if we win this, can you main channel this?
Oh, recording, but sure. Yeah.
You think this guy's gonna
Okay, yeah,
edit?
just grab from the VOD when we win.
I'll
Wait,
get
yeah.
the VOD.
Yeah, true. My VOD, my
I'm
VOD,
not
my
gonna
VOD.
main channel this. You can main channel this, bro. What?
No, you can main channel this. We'll win. I'll carry it and you'll make it. Dude, it'll do a mill. Trust.
Oh shit, why? Because you're in
I'm
there or
not
what?
gonna title this playing hoplite with the worst players in the world. Like what?
Wait, what
Yeah,
the fuck? Wait,
I know Qndres is really bringing down the
wait.
team.
What'd you just call me?
Yeah, that's true.
Just call me Qndres? It's fine, you can call me
The
Andres.
worst player in the world. Okay, so like now I have all the iron I need, and this cave is done. It's like, what do I do for 11 minutes? It is a strategy, but is it the strategy?
It is the strategy. Trust me. Right?
Fro.
I got the load some.
Mining, right? Andres, right?
I got the load some. Here it comes. Hold on, there's a guy here next to me.
What? Dude, why do we need to calm that there's a guy next to you? There's 11 minutes of grace.
Here it comes. I'm looking for this,
People usually fight for structures in this game, especially bastions. So.
Yep.
Yeah, but neither of us are in the nether.
I'm another.
No, but me,
No,
dude, you're an NPC.
Dude, what are you talking about? You think my name's Minitek? No, Baron. Nah, let me tell you a story about Minitek, right? You know Minitek egoed me one time? Let me tell you about this time.
Dang.
Yeah,
Dude, that's so
you know.
rude.
Facts, that's what I'm saying, bruh. He said, lol, not even 30k, weirdo, and just egoed my ass. Thoughts?
Dang. That's totally something
Same,
you would do.
actually, same,
100%.
Same.
Also, what is this bridge bastion?
What is this bridge bastion? They're all the same. It's always the same, except for the triple chests that have a possibility of.
Oh, well, this one's like cut off by, lava pool thing.
No, it's not.
Dude, my wrist has been hurting so bad the last few days. Like, how do I fix my wrist?
Yeah. What did Booster say?
Wait, what?
Stop.
wanking off so much.
Wait, what? I didn't, no,
You keep
don't,
talking
wait,
over me.
what?
What?
Stop wanking so much.
Okay.
Bro, no, it.
All right.
Dude, it's my left wrist.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know which hand you rank with. Like, what?
I.
Okay, at 10 I'll be.
Nice. Do you have the fire charge though? And
No, actually, can I get some wrist stretches in chat, please?
Yeah, chat.
Like, I
How do you?
Googled athlete and X, and like I tried their wrist stretch and it just like didn't work.
I'm actually an athlete. You know that? I'm a D1 athlete. Okay.
Yeah,
Why are you
the guy
laughing?
who streams
I think it's
18
pencils.
hours hoplite a
wrist
day.
stretches
What
and
the
more just
fuck, Wembu?
Wrist movement.
Wrist movement?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like,
Wrist is not a muscle. It's not something.
It's like
you
a joint.
stretch.
It's
Yeah,
like this
Wait,
thing
you
where
smoke
it's like,
joints?
You move it. You know, like you just.
Wait
move
a
it
second,
around.
Wembu.
Yeah, well, yeah, he said to like grab it and like twist it to the left, and like I tried that, but like it doesn't really work.
Wait, I have a better idea.
What?
Get your hand, rotate it 360 degrees.
Okay.
You're welcome.
The fuck?
Yeah.
You do it first, Yoshi. You need to show us how it's done.
Nah, yo. Byron. Oh.
Wait, Wembu, have you won a game before?
No, bro. Oh.
Yeah, I think so.
Nice.
I don't think I've won a solo, but I haven't really played much solo to be fair.
Yeah, so it's fucking. I won a couple. Of games.
Mhm.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Money.
I don't really play that much. I just like this morning I was like, I'm gonna be productive, and then I was like, well, maybe I could play hoplite, and then I logged on hoplite, and here we are.
Yep. Sounds about right. Wait, so like, why are you guys grinding lifesteal, bruh? Y'all are literally grinding, bruh. You're grinding lives, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah, you are. Unless you're not.
Bro, I haven't posted in 2 weeks.
Oh, I knew that.
Yeah, bro, I got.
Andres, what about you, Andres? When are you gonna post, bro?
Bro, I fucking uploaded and
Yeah,
just
for real.
video fucking flopped. L fucking click L.
Okay, well, okay. Here, let me check out your. I'm gonna critique your video right now.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Oh,
All right.
Fuck.
So this is like a.
especially-
All right, this is
look
a
at his
really
intro.
bad title and thumbnail. Like, I just.
Well,
I don't
which
really
one
know
is
what's
it?
going on in this thumbnail, the latest one, and like I really just don't care about Minecraft Manhunt. But swapping.
It's not. Wait, what, motherfucker? It's trust me, that one did bad. But there's the Civ one, hoplite Raya one. It's in my second channel.
Bro, why? You should main channel hoplite videos.
You think so, bro? Why is everyone telling me to main it? Isn't it dangerous
Because
though?
you're like actually. No, it's because you're like actually a hoplite player.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like it doesn't. Wait, what is your second channel?
It's in the just scroll down. You'll see it. It's
It's just kind of VODs. I don't know.
it's
Scroll down where? Oh,
Qndres Bowser or some shit like that. It's like 700 subs.
this. Yeah.
It's
Oh, okay,
yeah. You see it? It's garbage, right? I know.
Okay, well, it's gonna. Well, I mean, you have to give it more than 20 hours on a channel you haven't posted on in 10 months.
Not true.
Yeah, you need to give it like at least a week on a fresh channel.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more like a momentum thing when you start a new channel as well. Like, this video will eventually do the best. You just have to upload more consistently, you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
Especially
because
with
like when you,
Hoplite, I've seen creators just pop off the more they upload, you know.
no, exactly, because when you upload once, it boosts all your old ones. And
Yeah.
Oh, really? And they just
Yeah.
okay.
That's just kind of what it does. And
So I
it's
shouldn't
you
worry
pick up
about
on a-
fucking not getting any views on it.
no, well, yeah, and it
Alright.
also need like in a vacuum, even if you didn't upload, it still needs like a week before
Okay,
it'll like do things.
makes sense.
Yeah, but it's not like something you should like. If it's still like within 48 hours, you can't just say, "Oh, this video is bad," because that's just not how.
But yeah, it's also 6 minutes long, which is really short, and it's like really just. I feel like
Yeah.
that's really good for hoplite content. 6 minutes, like, boom, boom,
I
kills,
would
bam,
still go
boom.
for 50, like 10, 15.
What?
Yeah.
I would go for that. I've noticed that for me, it's between 15 and 25 minutes that the videos do best. But for Hoplite, I don't know. Like, again,
Yeah.
it's just not that long to get.
I feel like if it's
Wait, when are you uploading these for?
I am starting like a fire second channel series that I'm gonna upload weekly, and then
It's fire, it's
my
fire.
voice is actually better now, so I think I'm gonna start doing voiceover for my main channel video that was gonna start like a week or two ago, so I can finally do it because I've been sick.
Yay!
So now I can do voiceover, and hopefully my birthday shot guy gets it in, and it's gonna be a fire video.
Dang. Can you leak what the video is?
I can
No
just
leaks,
send
no
you a
leaks.
preview.
Quandres'
Oh, yeah,
chat
yeah.
would not snitch. Quandres'
I
chat
can-
would
oh,
not
my chat was snitch. My chat, there's
No,
yeah,
they
my
would-
chat's
they would
Boozer's
never
chat.
snitch.
No, I'm not gonna. I can just send you the thumbnail and title. You can just tell me what you like. What you
Okay,
think,
sure,
I
sure,
guess.
sure. Send it.
On 1 diamond. Can I get a heart in chat, please?
I'm gonna leak it right now on stream. Like I'm gonna
He's gonna
redo
hack
that.
it as well. He's gonna hack it. He's gonna hack. He's gonna
Yeah,
hack.
I'm actually
You know
gonna
what?
take it. I'm gonna post the video before you.
Title of the YouTube channel, Boost for, and then just post
Yeah,
that.
no, I'm like.
Boost
And
for
then it'll
YT
look like-
underscore.
Yeah.
Wait, Boost for what did you upload on a Thursday
The main channel
morning?
video.
Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, your videos are kind of hard to tell what they actually are based on the title.
Exactly. Yeah.
Boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam.
Like the video,
I don't know why, but
content
this-
itself is
yeah.
might be a little bit confusing as well, but like with a simple explanation, it's easily understandable.
Mm-hmm.
think should
I
be
don't know
fine. It
why,
looks-
but
it's gonna be so
the person on the right, looks like. Well, I didn't know if you were leaking that or not.
No, don't leak it, don't leak it. No leaks, no leaks, no leaks.
Minutech is in
Well,
my next video, guys.
Well,
Wait.
he looks like he like I don't know how to explain. You know that like Muffin music video Bad Boy Halo made 3 years
Yeah,
ago?
if he doesn't seem. Yeah, he seems more like.
He's a little animated.
Flustered. Yeah.
Yeah, he a little yeah.
Yeah.
I
don't
have
know.
lost 2 times.
It does. Hey, it works for me. I don't know.
Mm.
Like,
Also, you guys have any
kinda
diamonds?
works.
Nope.
You sure?
I have a lot of apples though.
Oh,
No,
my
my cave was shit, dude.
So I'm
I
just
had
showing you
like
again. I
the
went
biggest
nether, I
apples.
got diamonds. Like, nice, guys. I have 6
I
diamonds.
didn't do the lava X-ray thing though.
Oh, Cold, what's up, Cold?
Yo, why don't we just you know what, you can actually X-ray on Hoplite, like that's
Okay.
allowed.
Hey, there's a
I know,
staff
I've done
member
that.
watching
I
my
do
stream,
that
just
every single
FYI.
game. I do that every single
Yeah.
game, bro.
Yeah, me too. I'm X-raying right now
Yeah.
actually.
Okay.
Let's go.
All right, guys, just
I literally did. I blatantly said that out, like nicked in all chat as well, and nobody cared.
Qndres 64 years old. Yo, is this guy good?
X-ray.
Nice fucking ass.
For real. Yeah, see, nobody's gonna care. Nobody's
Yeah,
gonna.
you could you're fucking saying it in team chat, bozo head.
I feel like you're gonna get your YouTube rank taken away, bro. What are you gonna do? Dot. Lemon pie 7.
That's you, bro. That's you. Okay, I have a diamond sword, by the way.
Wait, actually? Okay, we can just real quick then.
Okay.
Where are you?
I have nothing. Bro, I don't even have any iron.
Who's Nuja Ko Jen Kuku?
Bro, I'm fucking Qndres, like GG.
Jen Kunku. Who's
Reaper.
Nuja Ko Jen Kunku?
Oh man.
So we back in the mines, swinging our. Come on, you guys not gonna sing along or? Okay.
I am 839 blocks away from you. You.
Bitch ass hoe.
It's past the fucking ocean.
Love. Went nether and it got off fast because yeah.
Stupid loser.
Oh, this cave just like got way better. I'm gonna try to.
You get Mjolnir, by the way?
Yeah, I did. I can get it. I'm not gonna be able to make a diamond sword.
Oh, what about enchants?
I can make enchants, yeah. I just won't be able to have diamond sword
Okay,
for
I'm gonna
myself.
surface. I only have iron.
Yeah, it's fine. I can give you a diamond sword when we can
Do you
get
need,
diamonds.
Kali, by
Yay.
the way? Because I'm getting it right now.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Wait. No. I have 10.
Yeah, I got 4 anyways.
Bro,
Okay.
what is the color crew? Like, how was that founded?
I don't know.
I don't know.
That label.
Yeah, the audience made it, not us.
Dang.
Anyways, so yeah, so how's your day today, Wumbu?
I mean, I don't know. I like ate a sandwich. It was a good sandwich, and then I was like lazy, and then I was like, I'm gonna get on hoplite, and then I got on hoplite, and now
That's
I'm
nice.
here.
I love you, Wumbu.
Huge.
Dang.
Oh shit. Relax, bro.
All right, I'm just
Lock in
making.
Qndres.
I'm locking in, bro. All right, I'm hold on. All right, W Wembu. All right, I was like slouching in my chair. Now I'm not slouching. Thanks to Wembu. Shout out Wembu.
Oh yeah, I'm like, dude, I sit in my chair like L from Death Note. Like it's just like it's so bad for
Never
my
seen that
posture.
show.
I literally like lean forward in my chair, so
Mhm.
I sit like just on the front edge of my chair.
Yeah, that's what I do. I like sit on my legs and like hunch forwards.
Wait, that's what I do. Wait, me too.
That's like L from Death Note.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like I'm actually killing my
By the way,
posture.
have you guys seen my chair on Twitter?
Yeah, it's fucking spoiled.
Why
Smells
would
like
I
shit
have
too.
seen your chair on
You
Twitter?
should check my chair on Twitter, bro.
Smells like
It's
shit,
the
smells like shit,
third
smells like
tweet
shit.
From the top or something.
I'll check it out after I craft some iron armor.
Is that you, Booster?
Why are you
You're
in
welcome.
the fucking ocean, bro?
All
Why
right,
are you
guys.
in the
I got a short sword.
Wait, get to us, get to us, get to us.
No,
Wait, vote offense and vote me. Vote me, vote me.
no, farming and vote me.
I'm voting.
No.
Voting. Wait, oh my god, please no. No,
Wait,
please.
No, no. Actually,
Don't do that. No,
don't.
please, but don't troll, don't troll,
Don't troll, don't troll, don't troll. Actually,
Don't
vote,
troll.
vote,
Low-key,
vote.
low-key,
Is that
please.
actually
It's bad.
a
It's
troll?
horrible. Yeah, it's big troll.
Yeah,
It's
it is a
big troll.
troll.
It's
We
big
get
troll.
3 sharp 3 with offense.
Yeah. Huge troll if you
Dang,
want that.
The meta has shifted.
No. No. No.
Yeah, bro.
it's not.
No, you were saying it was farming like a week ago.
No.
2 weeks. I don't know.
Motherfucker,
You have
no way.
sugarcane, by the way? Sugarcane.
No, but I have this.
Oh, okay.
I just tossed you a book.
Wait, where are you guys?
Right here.
Where is here? Oh,
Right there in chat. But pass me
DMC.
Booster. Pass me a 6.
6 what?
Sticks.
Oh, here you go.
You have 1 diamond boost for any chance or no?
Wait,
No.
why? Oh, I have a sharp tooth short sword now, dude. I'm so good.
Hmm.
Sharp. Oh my god. I got sharp book on the last thing. Huge.
Boost, you have 1 diamond booster?
No.
Okay.
Sadly.
Made a power 3.
Why?
I'm Moiner. We gotta let's go to
Yo, a shipwreck.
I have no healing, by the
Yo.
way.
I have 3 gaps. I can give you one.
Okay.
Wait,
Let's go to-
oh my god, you guys are across an ocean.
Wait.
Wait, who are you, Girl Toasty?
Yeah, probably. I think.
Okay.
Yeah, girl toasty.
Right there.
My friend for AMC is offline.
Hey, me too. Wait, he's my friend too.
Dang.
Wait.
He's not my friend.
Oh.
Dang.
Damn. Wait, which kind of gap?
Oh, this is looted.
Yeah.
Dang it, Booster.
Why
Wait,
me? Like what? Hello.
Oh my
Your
God.
fault.
Hey, you smell
Wumbo,
like
what's your nick?
shit.
What's your nick? What's your nick? What's your nick?
Girl toasty.
Girl toasty. The freaking chicken skin.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought it was.
Figure it out.
Nujako Junkuku. Junkunku.
What?
That
the
is
hell
just
was
not
that?
me.
That was a fire name though. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Wait, so Wembu, VidCon this year or what?
What? Maybe.
Bro, lock in on YouTube, bro. What the fuck are you doing?
What? Well, now I'm locked in, bro.
Okay, bet.
I don't know about VidCon. Maybe.
Oh my god. Who said he'll pay for your full trip if you go?
Oh dang! Really?
Yeah, because I'm buying.
Dude, Andres is literally so lonely. He has no friends to go to VidCon with.
Mother,
that
okay,
he's
this guy, bro. He
willing
doesn't
to
know about management. He
pay
doesn't know about management. He doesn't know about
me.
management.
He's willing to pay me to go to
My friend.
VidCon. It's crazy.
The brothers not know about management. Brothers don't know about management. Enchant. Decided to get away. All right. What is this kid?
Bro? What do you mean management?
You don't
bro?
know management? Wow. SMH, bro.
Okay. Oh, there's a guy, a kid under here.
Oh, I see that.
Coming down.
Yep. You too.
He doesn't even know, bro. Why did you scare him, bro?
Bro. The freaking Captain America skin. Watch him trap us all.
Watch. TNT minecart, come on, bro.
No, don't put lava, water.
Bro, how did you walk into the lava?
Got him.
Free kill!
Thanks to the Ender
You need
Pearl, bro.
diamonds?
I got 2 diamonds.
Well, I need them for sword.
Yeah.
No, I need them for sword.
Okay, yeah, low key here. Take them. Just make a sharp 3. Get,
No,
get,
I
get,
have a how do I?
Okay.
How would I get a sharp 3 diamond sword?
Wait,
Okay,
wait.
so-
Did you use your plus sharp book on your iron sword?
Yeah, bro.
Okay, then yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. I'll take the diamonds. I'll take the diamonds.
Throwing. You're throwing, bro.
You're throwing. You're throwing. You're throwing. You're supposed to
you
make
just don't understand the meta, bro.
Oh my god, the metaverse.
Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. Like you just don't really understand. That's
Okay,
okay.
Wumbu.
Wait, oh my god, why did you block up all the lava?
Sorry, Wumbu.
It's okay, I forgive you.
It's alright. Wait, why? Wait, what? Fuck.
What?
That's fine. My bad. My fault. I said my fault. I'm pressed now. I'm pressed. I'm pressed. I'm pressed.
Wait, Doggo Master has been revived, guys.
Wait, who?
Didn't we just kill him?
Did we?
I don't know. Was it?
Maybe. Could have been. I don't know. Wait, let's see. Who did I kill? I killed... Who did I kill?
How far up is this?
I don't know who I killed, but I killed someone.
You can literally scroll up in chat, bro.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't have any... Wait, what happened to my book? What? Would you have another book booster?
Book? No,
Yeah, I need a
gave it to
book.
Wumbo.
Fuck. When do you have a book?
2 or something.
No. I have a
Fuck, it's
power
fine.
1 book.
It's fine. Put that on your bow.
I don't have a bow.
Here, take this. Where you at?
Bro, I'm underground.
Oh, okay. With a sharp 1 diamond. Wait, which would Loki should wait for Wembu. He's still on the ground.
I'm digging.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I just want to find people.
Let's, if anything, we just yeah, we can just run back to Wembu. Fuck it.
Just want to stare them in the eye. Don't get caught, Wumbo.
There's no one near me.
You're good.
For now, they could be shifting.
Dang.
We're not gonna get stream sniper away.
Out of nowhere. Ooh. Oh.
Why are you saying ooh for?
No, I thought the flock of chicken were just items on the
Like,
ground.
team's over here. Teammate over here.
Yeah, is he fighting?
Is he? He might be fighting low key. Wait, who you? I can't. Wait, my voice isn't working.
Yeah, he is. Yes.
where?
I know
Full
he
team,
is,
full
bro.
team.
Can we get a slash?
Oh,
Can I get a slash
such a big
PMC?
team, bro.
Can I get a slash
They have Midas.
PMC?
They have Midas.
Can I get
Wait.
a slash
There you go.
PMC? Thank you.
Right there. Our teammate's fighting.
Now lock in, bro. We got this.
5. Nice. Good shit.
Yo,
Behind you. Just
Wait.
hit him. Punch him once. He's on 31. How's he on 31 still? This guy's the king. He's on 24.
Round 21.
Keep shooting him. shooting him.
Yeah, I have no good shot on him.
Oh.
My team's getting crit out
Same
here.
K, bro. Is our team dying?
My team dead, yeah. Teammate dead. To a bot.
I'm rolling up.
Got him. Throw through diamond.
Going up. Our team isn't dying, are they?
I'm dying though.
I'll save you.
Jump down in the cave. Jump down in the cave.
Got him. Don't worry.
Okay, I am dying now.
Okay. Oh, nice. Okay, is it
Bro,
fire
what is
breath man,
that
by the
hammer?
way? It's fire breath man, by the way.
Okay, let's kill him.
I'm getting chased right now by gummy worms.
Okay, I'm low. I am on half a heart.
Same. Why did he turn, bro? He's on 13. He just didn't know that I was low. My bad.
Yo, I'm being chased across the ocean.
Oh my god, I see that.
Oh god. That is a bow. Bro, how is he swimming faster than me? Okay, I'm just gonna swim on the ocean forever.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Oh, he dove. Oh, he's crafting a boat.
Wait,
I
where?
have 2 people chasing me, guys. Please.
We have no healing, bro.
Bro, I'm on half a heart. I don't know what you expect me to do.
I'm gonna try to lead them.
Oh no. Oh no. Save me, Qndres.
You're running into a whole nother guy.
No, I'm not. Oh, I might be. Don't worry, I'm chilling. There's no way he would hit a bow shot.
I'm getting chased right now.
Good for you.
I'm good.
Okay, so how do I get off half a heart?
I'm
just
getting
run.
used by fire breath man. He's using a. So I'm chilling. Yeah, another team.
Just run into each other. I can't really do anything right now. I can't help you guys.
I did. There's still a guy chasing me from the other team. No. Yep, they're off me. I'm good. I'm chilling.
Oh,
You guys need my help, by the way? I can try to circle around.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm not being chased, but
I'm gonna die here, boys.
No, don't die, bro.
I can't.
Bye, guys. You guys will win.
oh wait, why do we have 8 people left and no one has anything?
I'm dead.
Dude.
Two people are gonna die.
Oh,
It's just annoying, bruh.
Yeah. Did they have anything special? Like katanas or anything?
What? No.
yo, Booster, where are you?
Your
Sharp
name
3
is
just hit.
Toasty? I'm coming to you. I'm 160 meters away.
Okay.
Do you see the village?
Do you have any healing? Yeah.
I
see the
have
village.
1 gap, and I can get some gamble going
I
on
see.
here.
Oh, there is a person near me. Wait, what? Yeah, that is a name tag. It is a
Where,
single
where,
name
where?
tag. By the
You don't.
like
Wow,
right
you're
by
on 1
here.
heart. Don't go towards him.
Yeah.
Are you stupid?
No. I got this.
Oh my goodness. GG's.
Dude,
Yo,
lock
I'm literally
in,
here
lock
to
in.
give you a. I'm literally here to give you a
Alright.
bro.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's go kill him.
Yo, relax.
Lock in. Let's go.
Oh my god, I'm literally gambling, bro.
Did you
Relax,
just
relax,
gamble the
relax.
head? Crazy.
Yeah, I did.
Rip.
I did.
Yeah, it's fine. Rip. What's up, Pasha? What'd you get?
Wait, how much is this guy on? Oh no, it's a corpse. Oh wait, free head.
Oh, shit.
Wait, how do I get down here?
I got multi-shot. You stupid loser.
Wait a second. You fighting someone? Wait, you guys got. Okay.
Yeah.
Free head.
Bro,
Alright,
got a
should I do
supply
an
drop?
Ares blessing.
Yeah. Go on top. Yo, Vaynerson, what's
good?
up? Thanks, fella. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Do you have any gold, by the way?
42 nuggets.
Okay, come up. Give me the gold.
I don't want to give you the gold.
Have you crafted
Sure.
your light apples yet?
No.
Okay, I'm dropping gold into
I've
apples
crafted
here.
Ares blessing. Oh
I'm
wait,
gonna
does it
steal it.
insta spawn?
It's
Oh, what was it?
multi-shot as well, man. Like we just got rolled.
Wait,
Yeah,
what's your
you're
Twitch
welcome.
name? Is it at
By the way,
Wembo2Use?
yeah, you can craft your
No, I don't have a
nuggets.
Twitch.
What are you
Oh,
doing?
okay.
Craft your nuggets and craft your gold.
Trolling? What's up, Anderson? Hello. Yeah,
Can I get
do
one
what I
apple, by the
want.
way? 1 apple. Thank you. Or wait, what is your health?
Oh my.
Alright, if we just lock in, we got this.
Okay, we lock in. We go back where we came from, right?
Yep, sure.
Was it right
Jesus. Bros. Someone died and said, bitch, I hope you die. Okay.
here? Oh my
Dang.
god. Oh my god.
God damn.
Yo, give me another sword. Give me a sword. Give me a sword.
Sword? I
Not
don't
a
have a
minute
sword.
No,
in
quick, just give me
game.
a sword. Any sword. Any sword.
I don't know.
Alright,
Swords I
bet.
Said bitch there, Dan Jeff.
Why would you want a sword, bro?
I'm dual wielding.
With what?
Iron ingots.
Oh my goodness. this man. Nah, why did you invite this troll on our team, bro?
I'm just a good PvPer with fucking hacks
Yeah,
on.
exactly. I am a good PvPer.
Yep.
Guy to the right of you,
Oh,
literally
good
an NPC. Literally NPC to the right, yeah, right there, go straight. He has healing in his hand.
Watch him be the most cracked player ever.
No,
Where
he
is
got in a boat. He's gonna get in a boat right now. You guys have to pull that boat thing off. Keep going that way. No, keep right. Toward the border. Toward the border. It's literally a
How
Steve
would he
skin.
be in a boat over this way? Oh, I see him. Over yonder.
Oh, and the boat is no longer yet attainable. Oh no, he's dying.
Oh. Is he actually gonna die of water?
I don't know, but go chase him.
Wait, I don't have a boat. Oh. Okay, lock in, lock in.
Wait, bow is boat.
I don't have a boat.
Boat.
A bow. I don't have a bow.
My Theo, yeah, I died. I got.
How low is he? Wait, our teammate is there. Lead him to our teammate.
Oh, our teammate just drowned.
We're not leading
Oh
it.
my fucking god, dude.
Bro, he's locked in.
Bro was locked in. Oh, there's his head right there.
Continue.
Yeah, yeah. You continue. There's two heads there.
Diamond sword for you as well.
Okay, I was kind of like tabbed out, so I'm a little behind.
Okay, a sharp.
It's like you're having insane luck. Yeah, no, it's bad.
You know, this guy has double my health.
You got chased.
Yeah, you might want to just come back to the shore. Come back to the.
Bro, it's fine.
Okay.
He's a noob. He's a noob.
You're right, you're right. This can't end poorly. Wait, let me just like gap them.
Yeah, you just get up.
I got 2 diamond swords. Fuck that. I'm gonna gamble, guys. Wish me luck.
W and gambling
Thanks.
addict.
I'm gonna gamble everything.
Sounds like toast in my house.
Surely this can't go wrong, right?
Yeah. Yo. Quit yapping.
Strength spot huge.
Quit yapping, bro.
2 netherite scraps. Please tell me. Oh my goodness.
Oh, he got out of the boat. Okay, I'm fighting him.
You're fighting. You're
Oh,
fighting
he has
here.
a diamond sword.
It's fine. You got this.
You're right, I do got this.
He's on 36, 34.
Yo, I'm
He in a
no,
gap.
on that.
32.
What the hell? The server just completely died.
You're on 11. Wait, you're actually. Yeah. You got.
Okay, okay. Wait, dude, he's like cutting off the boat though.
Oh wait, a guy's on me.
Bro, pull up. I need you.
Booster, just go to him. It's fire breath, man.
Okay.
Yep. You might die.
Dude, he has so much healing. Oh my goodness gracious.
11. Wait, that guy's on. He's on 33.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
Okay, I stole his boat and I left. I stole the
Might pearl on
whipski.
me. So I have 0 healing, bro. He's gonna pearl on me. Oh, please
You guys
don't
both
pearl
are
on me.
just out of healing.
Yeah,
I think he's just waiting to pearl on you. What do you drink? You drink strength?
Yeah, I did. Do you have 1 gold? We can grab a G head. No, don't go for fire breath, man. You stupid dogs. Where are you, bro?
He's at 150, 470.
He's going towards fire breath, man, bro.
No, lock in.
Oh.
Wait, I don't.
My goodness.
There's a guy right there. It's Carter. It's really laggy.
Oh, I see someone.
Yeah, that don't go from
Gummy
him. It's good.
worms.
Wait, Booster to your right.
Oh,
Yeah, you go
why
that
are
way.
there
Go
so
that
many
way.
dogs?
Go to your right. Go to
Oh,
your
I
right.
see
See my
Booster.
health? Are you stupid?
Hey, Boostfer, how
We
are
meet up
you?
each other.
Do you have 1 gold? Do you have 1 gold?
Yes.
Okay, please give me. He's gonna give me something that is. Oh my god, no way.
Yeah.
Guys, Ender might.
I lied. I didn't have a G head for a G head. Let's go. I'm ready to roll, bro. I'm ready to die. Wait, you want
Lock
the diamond
in.
sword, by the way? Here.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
My strength is gonna run out as well, so it's GG's. Let's
Wait,
just
you
wait for
killed-
somebody to
this.
come out of the portal. Yeah?
Yeah, just trap it.
Why don't you guys just go in the portal? Thoughts?
Oh my god, thoughts?
Yo, go in there, get
You
gold.
have a
Wait,
bed?
what? Go in
Wait,
there, go in there.
deathmatch
Get gold,
chat.
get gold, get gold, get gold, get gold, get gold, get gold.
Wait,
Booster.
yeah, I
we
have
don't need
apples.
gold.
Let's get gold. Let's get gold.
Why do we need gold?
You have a minute.
For apples. For
Dang.
apples. For
Nah, we don't need that.
Oh, you do.
Loki's just gonna die, bro.
No, we're playing on hard mode, bro. Oh, wait, I dropped my lava bucket.
Oh.
We are floating.
I'm speed bridging.
Uh-oh.
Wait, Wait, I'm out of blocks. No, please.
Okay, Wemp was fucking trolling. All right, Wemp was fucking trying to kill you. Go to your left. Go to. Oh no. Oh
Did
no.
I log me there?
No.
Yeah, but you fell.
You fell and you're dead.
Am I dying?
Yes.
You're dead. Wait, Loki, Wempo, land on that
What?
block right there. You can actually get his head. Wempo, you got
I'll
this.
actually die from fall damage of that.
No, you're good. Trust you got it.
Water bucket clutch, water bucket clutch, water bucket clutch.
Wait, water
Oh
bucket
yeah,
clutch.
you're right. I'll just
Don't
do
get
water
anybody.
clutch.
Don't give
no,
the
wait,
guys a
could've
kill,
fought.
bro.
Yeah,
Don't give
yeah,
them a
Yeah,
kill,
get
bro.
down, get down, get down. No, go down.
No,
Just
no,
10 seconds.
no.
You get the head and you just
Lock
water
in.
yourself out.
If
Yeah,
you,
Okay, lock
but
in.
if you timed it correctly, you would have gotten it without any fall damage. Just letting you know. Yeah.
All right, lock in. Wait, let Wempo lock
No,
in
no,
here.
no. Let me cook.
Lock in.
Let me
Wait,
cook. Let me
kill a
cook. Let me
teammate.
cook.
Lock in, lock in.
We
No,
had
I
to kill
can't hit
him.
him. I can't actually
Love
hit
him,
him.
love him.
I don't have a lava bucket. I actually
Oh
dropped it
my,
outside the
go,
portal.
go.
Dude, I'm locked in.
Uh-oh.
Trust.
There's a
See,
whole
this
team
is why I'm
to
the
the
better
left of
player,
you.
because you both are dead,
Played, by the way.
and I have to carry the team now.
Oh, true.
How is Wembo the only one alive? He was
Dude.
on one heart, like literally one health, 1 HP.
No, I was
But-
actually on half.
Get the chest, get the chest. You got the chest ready?
Yeah.
No, half a heart,
okay.
but when you press tab, you were literally
That
at
is a
1
guy
HP.
with a big sword. Wait,
Yeah,
is
it's
this guy
Midas.
AFK? Wait, I'm gonna crowd this AFK guy.
He's AFK.
Free
33,
kill.
28, 22.
I have
17,
actually not
12,
killed the player
8.
who was at his computer.
Oh, he came back. He had
Oh,
healing on
yeah,
it.
he had-
He had so much healing. Well, he had healing in there. Get the healing, get the healing, get the
Wait,
healing. Go back, go back.
there's,
Oh,
Papa Jihad, by the way, kill this guy, and there's gapples in there. Oh my god, you wouldn't even.
he's on 8.
Papa had to. Actually, no.
No, it's fine. You got this.
Damn.
Loki, you might want to go back into healing because you have no healing.
No, I picked up a ceiling.
No, there was
Okay.
the.
Wait, there's more gaps in there.
Golden apples
Oh.
stuck in a stair in a wall.
Wait, no, I'm gonna get him. His movement's bad.
He's on 5.
5.
Oh, you don't have a bow, bro.
Is this worth a pearl? I have a pearl.
Just honestly, yeah. Now would be a great time to pearl. 1 heart.
Bro, what?
No way.
Literally 1 HP.
Sean,
No way.
man.
He's,
No way, bro.
How did he live? What?
Why would this guy even continue running? He's just
Okay,
griefing everything.
Should I just jihad? Should I just jihad?
I mean,
Not
what's your,
jihad, you have a regular head in your
No, I
inventory.
used the regular head.
sure, if you want to heal, yeah, use healing.
That
Yeah,
guy's
quick.
coming
Yeah,
for
just
you,
gonna
so
one tap
you
him.
need
Oh, okay.
Oh,
He has stolen my kill. Okay, bro.
Jihad and
probably
kill
kill
this
this
guy.
guy.
Jihad
Yeah,
and kill this guy. No balls. No balls.
Dude, okay,
Oh.
no, this kid is way better than me, bro.
Gummy worms.
You could drop him. Nice. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god. This is
23?
better.
Wait, my second head is in my hotbar.
Wait, you're running
running
into.
straight into-
Okay. I have been shot.
I have been shot by a team.
Okay, I
have
tried
been
my best.
shot.
It's
I
fine. It's
gotta get
fine.
off though, because that game was.
No
when I was a
way.
child.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
I gotta
Are you
do it.
fucking serious?
Yeah.
Are you fucking. All right, for sure. Thanks for teaming, bro.
Dang. Okay, see ya.
Later. Bye. It's fine. We can get third. Speed silver. I don't have speed silver friended. Fuck.
Speed Silver, is he on?
I think so. Dude, no way Booster's not. I mean, no way Dev's not on.
What do you mean? Devin never plays, bro.
Bro, we can get Dev, bro. But bro, just not. He's just an NPC. Does not log on. Meow. Wait, can you meow Booster?
Don't talk to me.
Dude, what the fuck? Just meow.
Don't talk to me. Can you like actually just stop talking to me?
Okay.
I have
F-list.
1,000 tokens, bro.
I have 300.
I am 49 stars. I think I went up like low-key like 15 levels today.
I'm about to lock. Oh my god, I have so much shit.
By the way, I have a quest that says survive longer than 80% of players in one game.
Yeah, it's
and
broken.
I haven't completed that.
It's broken.
It's either broken or I just haven't survived past 20% of like 80% of people.
Is server enjoyable for anyone else? I'm so in. I'm chilling.
Coin shop perks. Want the gold now? Give me the gold. Ooh, yes.
Oh yeah, Paxil's playing by himself, bro.
Okay, Paxel, bro.
Paxil's going to school today.
So we don't got a third?
No, I'm trying to look for one though. Stay. Tell me how. Got you.
Oh, yeah, third, bro. How are you doing, man? My ass hurts from sitting so long.
Shut up.
Bro, I haven't slept, man.
I'm trying to find a third. Didn't
Wait,
work.
I don't sound sick anymore, right?
No, you don't. You sound perfectly fine.
Let's go. might start doing.
Yeah, literally everyone's asleep. What the fuck? CPK, get CPK, get CPK, get CPK, get CPK.
You don't have him?
No, I don't have him, but you have him. I think he wants to play. How do I know? I don't know. I just guessed. Ask. You have to ask people, boy. You can't be leaving me with the only person to be asking.
I'm asking.
Stop being so shy, Booster.
I asked. No, every time I ask, they just like,
I'm busy.
"Fuck you, you stupid bitch."
I know.
That's what they say.
It was.
Oh, he said he's gonna start streaming, then he's down. Let's go.
Wait, teams?
Yeah, he said play another one without me if you want. So he's probably gonna be like 30, 40 minutes.
30,
to
40
start
minutes.
stream.
Okay. We can play duos, I guess, but we have to like lock in just me and you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you down?
I'm
Bet.
down, I'm down, I'm
Let's
down.
lock in.
CPK in the CPK is in the server.
Okay.
We can just go to live 3 or something for the voice.
get someone.
Let's go to live 1 in the server.
Can you get on, Danja, if I can invite you? Yeah, sure.
Yo.
Yeah.
Andre, let's go to live
I'm
1.
going. Yeah. I'm going. Only one, Dan Jeff, because yeah.
Yo, Qndres.
Yo, what's up, bro?
Yo, Andres, do you want to
What's
just
up?
do Nether and go
Wait.
for full iron and the 0-0 rush?
0-0 rush?
Just float wives strat?
Yeah, sure, we can do that. Sharp 3, yeah. Done. Fuck Nether.
Yeah, fuck Nether.
Wait, and,
Actually, you know what?
we
I
have a
love
third now,
rushing
so.
Nether. I'm going Nether.
Okay.
I'm going Nether.
Danja can go Nether with you. Danja, can you go Nether? No, we're not in Discord, by the way, Danja. We're just gonna do this. No Discord. We're gonna do like the Birdie
Yeah, fuck
strat.
you, dude.
Okay, well, Danja, there you go.
I mean, I love having a third, bro. Sorry, intrusive thoughts, man. Fantastic KC10.
Friend, add CPK. I don't even know how I spell his name. SE.
Why
Fuck.
me, bro?
I hate how it does that. I'm gonna do something crazy. Wah. I hope my Twitch can chat.
Oh my god, I was coming this kid.
Wah. Cool. Free CPK. Oh, I'm stupid. It's not C. No. Friend add CPK. There you go.
Jesus, I just fought a really good guy.
I sent him a friend request.
Oh my god, what is this microwave, bro? Get away from this microwave.
Wait, is there actually a microwave on our team?
Yeah, that was like a beep.
Beep. My tummy hurts.
Got a structure that's kind of buried in the mountain. I'm going for.
Go for it. I'm gonna try to go Nether fast. Getting wood. We got sticks. Oh, I see a buried treasure, thing. No, there's just no cave here. Cool. I'm feeling I might get sick soon too.
Just don't get sick, bro.
Oh yeah, just don't get sick,
Oh
huh?
my god, I got 8 iron. I'm just gonna go straight for another.
Just go Nether. I'll try to join you with my into the portal. I think I see you. Are you in cave already?
No, I'm near a river. Near a structure. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know why I play like you, low key. I started playing like you. I hate you for that. Just no surface water. Are you in?
In a nether already? Are you stupid?
Dude, have you not seen CB or not CBK? What the fuck? Have you not seen Feinberg stream, bro? Bro's in nether like just as soon as possible.
Not this fast.
Dude,
Not even him, bro.
that motherfucker's in nether like fast. Like
I
I'll be like making food and he's already another. Like
this is
dead ass.
impossible. This is impossible. It's impossible
No.
to be in the nether this fast.
No. The
Unless
fuck.
you get a godlike spawn.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just rare. Also,
Yeah,
I
nothing's
go to
rare.
the nether with like some extra stuff.
Oh, okay. Every night and day, I'm addicted on a.
Oh, I need water. Fuck. No, I wasted like 10 seconds here. So sad.
It's like the little things that gets to you too. Sucks.
I don't care. I don't think people are gonna catch up in those 10 seconds that I just lost.
You got it. You got it. You got it. Dandruff, go another Dandruff.
Maybe you come to me for a portal.
Why? Because you're part of the nether bitch.
What the fuck? Okay, Bastion. Nice. I'm glad I grabbed wood. Holy shit.
So where are you?
It's like, I'm in the middle of the air, bro.
I got diamonds. 1. Oh, I duped. No, I didn't. I got 3. Just can't get enough.
Nice. I got the top of the Bastion. Huge.
Wait, so did you ask me the heart earlier?
No. It is stables. Nice.
Got it? Shit, Booster. I'm not gonna go in then if you got it already. I'll buy diamonds for us.
1 debris.
Nice. Can we get this lucky when we get CPK, please?
I got another debris.
Nice. Okay. I have
Another
3
debris?
diamonds. Oh, nice. Okay.
Yep. We just get everything here.
Qndres, is it really you? Yes.
Shit, I don't have the smelter pick. I need to use normal iron pick. That's so stupid.
Do my 2/3. I think it might be my. I need to take this wisdom teeth off, bro.
Could just be
I'm just a
something else.
bitch. If it's fake, how YouTube rank exactly? Bro's cooking. You got me feeling like Mr. Roberto. Do you like black eyed peas? Oh,
I don't know
diamonds.
what that is.
We have enough for 2 katanas already. And it just duped. We have enchant and katanas. Can you
Yeah,
lobby?
I'm trying to get
You good?
just go in,
Danj, if you can get Danj, if you get enchants, I can give you a sword. We can all make a. We get 8 buckets for me and Booster, I bet.
I won't have much healing, by the way, so
It's fine.
have to be mining.
We just have to drop people.
Yeah,
I'm down for sharp 3 katana rush.
fire charges. Yeah, you just gotta drop people.
I have 5 losses. Yeah, I know. I just don't want to change. I'm too lazy.
Okay, I'm coming back. I have everything.
Yep.
I have 33 gold as well, so we get like some apples.
No apples, yeah. It's like 2 gaps each, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So it's good. It's fine.
It's like one. It's like
Also, here.
7 gaps total. If we all make our lights 8.
Another block and a silk touch pick. So if there's Arctic, we can get a lich staff.
Yep. Is Arctic? Yeah, there's Arctic team actually.
Nice. So we go for.
So we just, but we gotta just rush.
Yeah, rush
thing.
Thanos and then look for the Arctic.
Yep.
Nice. This is probably like this is a really exciting nether. I'm not gonna
Yep,
lie.
it was. So I'm telling you, they should just remove pot stuff. I hate pot stuff. Just add bastions
No,
every
but
10
the thing is,
times.
they need to nerf everything in the nether somehow. Because like this shouldn't be the deciding factor.
Yeah, nether shouldn't be OP.
Yeah.
It gets annoying. Like, I mean, I guess.
I
people
like
could-
50-50. I like the 50-50. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a fan of the 50-50 thing. Big fan. I think it was a great decision. I don't know why they reverted it.
I would never forget the time when you said, "Nah, I'm not playing UHC." Where you at right now?
Dude, this is so much fun.
No life in UHC.
This is
Chat, when this server first got announced, Booster was like, "I don't think I'm gonna be playing on the server."
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to play this sweaty, and it's just like, now I'm just playing this sweaty. Okay, I'm gonna get some iron. I already have 15, so.
Okay, well, I have 6. Any diamonds on you, Danjeff? Danjeff, any diamonds on you? All you need is 2, Danjeff. Wait, are you on top surface, Booster?
Yeah.
Can you get just leather? I mean, get a book. Get some books.
I have 12 obby by the way as well. I
Oh,
have
what the
13
fuck?
leather. I have 13 leather, and I'm right next to the river, so I can get books.
We're still 8 minutes. We're
Okay,
still
you guys
good.
get me extra. Get me extra.
Iron?
Iron. By the way, we can also, if we get everything early, we just go look for Arctic. That's literally it. We go enchant and look for Arctic.
True.
What else do we need? We need to get
Beehive.
candle.
Yeah.
So beehive.
String and beehive.
Yeah.
You said get iron for you, right,
Diamonds,
Booster?
2 extra diamonds as well. Yeah, I have 17 already, but
Okay.
just extra would be nice. I'm gonna get some apples as well.
Tell her it's repercussion. Yo, this song is fire, bro. I love Uzi. Let me put you on, Booster. Let me put you on a song.
What?
Andy. Oh, yeah, I read that already. But Booster is sweaty. He had to play. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say, bruh.
So much
Let's go. Oh, no.
by the way, I
never...
have 10 crying obby as well, so if we get amethyst, we can just get sites as well.
So you literally just have the amazing nether rush W.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got Twitter for Instagram. Fucking Wembu, bro. I love Wembu.
Okay, I'm gonna start coming to one of you. Who has the diamonds?
I have diamonds. I have
I'm gonna go-
6.
I'm
Did I
gonna
just
go
come up?
with you.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna go
7
with you.
minutes left.
Yeah. Okay. I'll try to see if I can find the Arctic then.
I'm just gonna come up. Just come up. Then we can
we
just
have-
make. We can all just go. I'd rather just all be together.
Yeah. Do we get enchanted or no?
Yeah. I'm just bringing up diamonds or obsidian. You have obsidian,
Yeah,
right?
but we have enough. Does our third have enough for
His
I
own
do have
katana?
obby, but
No.
does he have it? Yeah.
He's bringing
'Cause
katana.
He should definitely get diamonds for his own katana as well.
Yeah, you'll get. I mean, if we'll make our own katanas and enchants, but you know. Hey, Danjif. Hey, Danjif. Danjif, your microphone is. Whose mic is that, bro? Yo, your microphone DVD, bro.
That's this guy's. It's DVDs.
Bro has literally a DVD cassette tape in his fucking microphone, bro. Oh my god, bro. Oh my god. Yo. Mute your mic, bro. Dude, mute your fucking mic, bro. It sounds like an Xbox Connect mic, bro. Beep. Bro's cooking up popcorn.
Don't forget to shear beehive if you see it. You see me?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Huge.
Passing you the obby in the book.
Yeah.
And then I'll give you this.
Here's 2 obby. Here's this.
Let me.
Did you get extra iron by the way?
Yeah, I'll get you some right now.
Some boots. Do you have extra lapis?
Lapis? Yeah, I got you. Hold on. Wait, do you have any extra books?
Yeah, I do. Here.
If I die, I'ma die.
It's DV Dord, right? That's already the third?
No.
I just gave him everything.
Huh?
I just gave him the katana stuff.
No. Give the stuff back. Yo, give me the stuff back. Yeah. Give it to Danjif. Yeah, he does. He's giving me lava book. I don't need lava book. It's good, man. Danjif, take this. Danjif. Yeah, he has. He gave it back, Booster.
Oh, my bad.
Do you have 2 diamonds?
No, I don't. No. We'll just kill someone right now for damage.
Wait, I don't have any XP levels.
Let's get some.
Grab some XP levels or no?
Yeah.
So I barely
Take
have
this.
any
Take this.
lapis.
Take all my lapis. Let's take 3.
Here, give me-
Do you have any copper? Anyone? Copper?
No, I didn't get copper. Just start voting for offense right now, by the way. Vote offense. Vote me. Just vote me, by the way. Can you even vote yet or not yet? What's up, bro? Make yourself a liar, man. Why is that GG so 3D? What's up, Megalux?
I
Welcome.
actually lose my mind with these enchantments. Like low-key, I don't
Lights. I'm gonna start going. Actually, I'll wait for you.
I got it now. By the way.
Well, what? Oh, thank you.
So you got it.
Good teammate.
Yeah, let's go look for the
I
Arctic,
can
right?
give you apples. You got craft supplies.
Do you have any gold, Danjeff?
No, we have apples already. If you have gold, I can give you some.
Oh, I have
apples
10 gold. Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
need, we're passing one iron, guys. Everyone have one iron.
Yeah.
Make less. Make less. Yeah.
But
I already have my light apples, by the way.
I give some.
Not Andres is already.
Oh,
I got 3 apples ready. 3 gaps.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
it.
just gonna keep it. Thank you.
Danjeff,
Hey, if
what's
you
wrong with
guys
your
got any
microphone, by the
amethyst,
way?
I got crying obby.
Or just something we just go for last booster. No one has spots.
What?
I don't think. Maybe for like late game it's fine. We're good. But right now we don't. We just don't go. Yeah. Yeah.
No, Reaper Scythe we'll just get if we get amethyst and heads. But I mean, like Lich.
Yeah, but like for late game though, because I feel like we just go for.
Lich game is something we do want to get though.
Yeah, start going through. Here, come with me, booster. You got the entry table?
Yeah.
Wait, bro, put iron armor on, bro. Okay. You need to put some armor on, man.
I don't have a streamer mic like you. Shit.
I don't. And if your microphone is booty, bro, fix it.
I know. I'm not gonna fix it.
Where's your? Wait, what do you mean? Press V or your voice settings, and then
There is no Arctic here.
your microphone.
There's no Arctic in this direction.
Yeah, and do what with it?
At least not from what I know. So enter the nether right here.
Okay. Meow. Yeah, Wilson. Get Wilson. Get Wilson.
You think Arctic is just the opposite side of us?
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, did Danjeff get katana or no?
No. We're just waiting for we're gonna kill people. Yeah, kill someone for diamonds.
Okay. You have extra diamonds, by the way?
No, 0.
Okay. Because we'll need 2
It sucks I can't.
regular ice and 2. I have obby. We need regular ice, diamonds, and to shear beehive. There's a corpse in 2 corpses in the Sphinx.
Wait, let's go for it. Yeah, I see it.
I don't have a gold bridge yet. That's why I wanted to go above, bro, because I know these fucking bugs, bro.
What?
Wait, I have an idea.
Racism.
Yeah, you have an idea, yeah?
What's the idea?
I hit him once, so now I can just.
Wait, it's our teammates. Are you serious?
It's not. You have sand, teammate?
Let's keep heading 0-0, I guess.
Wait, I'm trying to get this guy here. Teammate, move, man.
Do you not have a lava?
Oh, yep, I did. Wait, diamonds on him, what? Wait, diamond horse armor, never mind.
Wait. If it's 2 diamonds.
No. It's diamond horse armor,
Okay.
Vote me.
Yeah. Lead us to victory, King.
Morning, Sally. Hello. I had a red crap skin. W. I can always ask red crap too. Forgot about that. I'm just too scared to ask big creators, you know, because they're gonna deny me, and I'm gonna be like, no.
Imposter syndrome. That's not
Is that what it
something to
is?
joke about, bro. Yeah, you know that 5-up tweet. Right? Okay. We are looking for Arctic, by the way, because I have Silk Touch. Yeah. Oh, there's a beehive. We need to. I'm gonna.
I don't know where you're at. You gotta get with me. I'm not with you.
Don't worry,
Just don't die.
Near us.
Alright, sharp 3.
Yeah, I see it. 1 second. We can low-key drop them. I have the.
I see you guys. I see them too.
Yo, come back.
Here's 17 booster. Don't get too greedy. Nice. Someone's sharpened.
I'm gonna grab them.
Someone's sharpened his book. Just dropped, by the way. Should you get a sharp book already?
Yeah, can you...
Booster, do you have sharp katana?
I got sharp 3. I got sharp. Wait.
Okay, well,
I
there's
didn't
your-
get wait, I didn't get the
Yeah,
sharp.
yeah, you're right, because it dropped on the floor. Bozo head. I picked it up for you.
Yeah, my bad.
Wait, do you have levels, Andrew?
I do not. Yeah, I do actually. 2, 5.
Yeah, here.
Make it quick.
Feather falling. Are you
Wait,
stupid?
oh.
Okay, I'll take it.
Let's see.
Okay.
Wait,
Do you guys have
I can get
one
sharpness for
gold?
you. I can get sharpness for you. Hold on. Pass it again.
1 gold?
I can make sharp 2 for you. Yeah, here. Let's take it. Here you go.
Thank you.
Now I add that sharp 3. They went this way. They went this way. There's Arctic over here, by the way.
Oh, huge. Okay.
Just lock in, lock in, lock in.
Those extra 2 diamonds, by the way?
No, I don't have any diamonds.
One of my life.
Don't worry, diamonds. There was a diamond horse
Did
armor.
you pick up any diamonds,
I have 2
Denja?
diamonds. 2 diamonds.
Okay, we can make this
drop
stuff.
it. Drop it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just gonna mine the ice and then I'm gonna...
Wait, what does the powdered snow look like? I don't see it on my thing.
Powdered snow?
Wait,
do
are
you
you
have it?
do you have a
Do you have the
pack?
texture pack on?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, there's
Yeah, it's
powdered snow
right to
here.
your right. You should see
Let's
it.
go towards the ice spikes, by the way.
Oh, here, look right here.
Yeah.
Oh, I have no food. I need food. I need food. Dance, I need food.
Andres, do not go into ham. I'm going for ice right now. I'm split off.
Booster, just come with us, bro. This is
No, I'm
full
getting ice,
team.
I'm getting ice, I'm getting ice.
Oh, you're getting us? Okay, well, we're gonna chase this
Yeah,
guy.
I just need ice and I
We see
have
one
the
guy.
rest.
Yeah, just chase this guy, Dan Jeff. Just chase this guy. We're just chasing one guy, Booster. You should be good to come with us.
Okay, does it expand? Does it run out of durability or no?
No,
Oh
it
wait,
doesn't.
there's a guy in powder snow here.
Okay,
Oh
I'm
my
coming back.
God. So it doesn't run out of durability. Okay, nice.
No, it doesn't. Booster, you're by yourself. Okay, next to your teammate next to you, but is that you?
What the fuck?
Don't hit yourself with it. You can hit yourself with it. Do you know how to use it? What's up, Bablu?
Kind of. How does it? How long does it take for it to reload?
45 seconds or 30 seconds, something like that. If you don't know how to use it, let me use it, by the way. Like,
No, I want to learn how to use it.
okay. Just always have it out on your like thing, because it's also,
Yeah.
you know.
Do I just offhand it or no? Actually.
No. It's Frostwalker, so. Booster, keep chasing. We have Frostwalker. You gotta go. You gotta keep walk. You gotta walk. Nice, like that. Yeah, perfect.
Why are that YouTuber, bro? Oh no, nah.
This guy's
Yes,
French.
pala yan sa YouTuber siya, ni Roy.
Are you French?
Nah, please. I swear, Qndres.
Je m'appelle Andres.
We
Comment
do
ça
not
va?
tolerate French people on this server.
Li parler le français.
Baguette.
Wait, what language do you speak? What do you speak? What language do you speak?
No, wait, don't kill me. I tell you, okay? Don't.
Okay, yeah, telling you. Oh my god, Booster, you hit me.
Please.
You're freezing to death, man.
No.
Booster, have it on your inventory, bro. You have, yeah, Booster. Yeah, you can't like run on it. You gotta hold it out when you're running in water. You're good.
No, don't.
Nah, bro.
Mademoiselle, come
Je
here.
m'appelle. Comment ça va? Ça va bien?
La baguette.
Like a baguette.
Baguette.
Booster, I don't think he's French, bro. I'll be honest with you.
I'm not French, bro. I'm not fucking French. I hate French
Do not
people,
freeze
bro.
to death.
Oh my
please.
god. Okay, what are you, German?
No. I'm not German, bro. I'm Jewish, you fuck.
Oh.
He's. Oh. Wait, what? That's not your country.
I'm Jewish, bro. I'm sorry. You
That's
tell
not
me
a
I'm
country.
not.
It's not a
Please tell us
country,
your
though.
Country.
It's not a country, bro. I'm dead. I love your videos. Goodbye, bye.
Fuck you! What the fuck?
You still got
Wait, I got the kill.
don't
Wait,
worry.
what?
Yeah. I do
How?
get the charge. Is that so stupid? Yeah, the teleport doesn't count as a kill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's changed. That is fine. How's it? That guy was cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
Those kind of interactions are funny. Okay, I'm learning how to use
Yeah,
it.
those interactions are
I have
fun,
a head,
but
by the way. If you have redstone, I can gamble, or
yeah, man.
you, have a...
I'm gonna gamble one head and make a G head with another one.
Yeah, give me redstone behind you. by the way.
Yeah, redstone right there.
Right food. Regular food.
Run! Watch out! TNT! Oh fuck.
Holy shit.
Get food, Andrew?
Yeah, steak. Here you go. Wait. Let me get one.
I
get
think
one.
we have 4 gunpowder. If we get more, we can make anything from TNT.
Yo, teammate, can I get that horse, bro?
Nice.
Yeah.
Golden
Wait, W mans.
Oh fuck, it's zooming. Yo,
Which are coming with me? 1-0-0.
Where?
0-0. Yep.
No, you're not.
I need you to put the ice thing. That's why. Hi, Pablo.
I'm coming. I'm coming.
Are you
Whoa,
also with the
that
horse?
sounded
No.
wrong. That actually sounded wrong.
Do you have any food, Mr.
I do. I have one
Can
bread.
give you one, please. Thank you.
I have 6 gas, by the way, if anybody needs.
2.
Bro, we're so. 0 this way, man. Guys, 0 this way. I'm just gonna go. Fuck it.
Mine's jumpy as
Yeah,
well.
we're here. We're here. We're here.
Oh, my fucking. Wait a second. Someone get a respawn? Am I tripping? Oh, there's a guy here.
Shows up in chat when somebody gets respawned.
2 guys. Hello. Hello. 3 guys. 3 guys. 4 guys. 4 guys. 4 guys on me.
Hello, governor.
Oh shit! It's Qndres. Hello.
Up on the. Oh,
Yeah, up in the mountain. Hello, guys. We are coming. Mister, don't. You gotta when you. You'll learn how to use it. What is that flame bow?
What do you mean?
You'll learn how to use it.
It's a good way to like in front of you and use yourself with.
All right. Well, you're dying, bro.
Why am I like I'm always getting hit, bro?
How did you get there? Oh, we both did at the same time. I got this, Booster. I got this. I got this.
Did I get the kill?
Nope. Just get my kill stolen. It's amazing.
I got a flame power 2 bow. Let's go.
Anyone have boots extra?
No, I didn't even get any.
I could use weapon.
Any amethysts? That's the question.
I sent him.
Microwave again. You see what? What are your gaps, by the way? What are your gaps?
That's right.
5. Okay, bro. This guy's beeper, bro.
I know. By the way, how the fuck am I the one getting hit through everything in the middle of a fight? Please tell me. Explain to me how that happens. Explain to me.
Stop
Please.
fucking kill stealing. That's what I tell you. NPC. You're trying to kill steal, Booster. What's wrong with you, man?
So?
Why are you trying to kill steal, bro?
I do not.
Twice.
Have no. I did not try to kill steal. bro.
Okay. After I told you I got this guy, and you just wanted to dash on him, you know?
Yeah, I wanted to kill. Like what? Also,
Yeah, you're trying to kill steal. He's on 1.
Is the guy running away in the plains, or are you still on the mountain?
I'm in the plains. If I see him, I'm just gonna come back.
Fucking loser.
Bum, 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 bum. I'm currently in class, but got bored. Well, make sure you're not bored in class, cause you don't want to fail class.
Yeah, you do.
I kind of want my own lit stuff now.
Yeah, this stuff is kind of fun, but also like the hitbox is so weird. Sometimes you're not aiming at the ground, but you will hit the ground.
Yeah, you use it to boost yourself, or you use it to boost people toward you and you kill them with that.
You're aiming a little bit downwards, and it like
Yeah, you aim like it's not like
the ground.
Yeah, you're trying to aim like a bow.
It's just the hitbox of the ball is just very big.
Yeah, bones.
Also, it's not like a bow. It goes straight forward. I do have bones. 10.
It's ping defense. It's ping defend it. It's like wherever your ping is. I see bones. I got it.
You mean ping dependent? No.
Ping dependent. Yeah. You have redstone? Oh,
Yeah.
lag. Redstone, anyone? Redstone.
I need gold to make 2 heads. If you have any.
I have 3.
Just drop it.
I need to start getting projects.
There's a sharp 2 diamond in there. So no one has gold. No one has redstone, guys. Your team, you got
I have
redstone, teammate?
redstone. Never mind. I lied.
Dude.
Sorry. I didn't see it, bro. I didn't see it.
This guy. Our teammates.
Dude, this microwave guy's pissing me off now.
Same.
If you have any left, I can make a.
Why are you trying to lava me, bro?
The microwave guy.
Onwards. Wait, where's the team? It's going this way. You need their next game? No, we got CPK. Pablo. Yeah, Mesa.
I'm going into the
Sorry, Pablo.
plains, bro. I'm into the plains, bro.
Then you got it. Damn. All right, bro. Flex that horse.
I see.
Be careful, bro.
4 people. 4 people.
4 people. 4 people, booster.
Jeff with going with me. Wait, what?
4 people need your help. Yeah, guy with the chest plate.
Okay.
And the guy with boots. You need this.
Let's go back. They found people. They found people.
Teammate, be careful.
Hmm? TK. Oh, Sanjeev is going because I need a babysitter.
Got him?
Drop the rest. Drop the rest. You're literally 35.
Got him? Someone just stole my kill, but I think I got him. Oh my god, bruh. Jar's hard. Give me chest. Give me boots. Oh my fucking god, dude.
Andres,
Like, yeah, I see it. It's fine. Coming.
I hit somebody. Andres, you might want to back away from that.
I'm gonna have a jihad.
Look at these guys.
No, I mean like there's a.
Are you finding these guys, same guys as me, or you need help?
No,
Yeah, there's another team.
We're fine. Just stick together. Stick over here. Just don't go for the team.
Booster's a bit behind.
I'm going for the guy with boots because my fucking teammate just stole all my diamond loot. Got 7. Got him. I got him. Got him. Okay. Joe, teammate, give me. Oh my fucking god, man. Why is my teammate like that? You guys get a booster? You're fighting a whole different team.
I'm literally just holding them off so they don't
dude. Oh my god, I'm fucking in a cave.
Oh wait, jump him. Jump him. Not gonna look, they're gonna
yeah, they're jumping on you guys, by the way.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe. Oh, back. Yeah, we got. We're kinda. Back.
I'm good. Hello.
Up.
You want to down?
No. They're stacked. Teammates, give me the chest plate. Puck.
Or maybe don't.
Give me the chest plate. Give me it.
I mean, it's just one full diamond. That's it, no?
Bro, give me
Yeah,
the
there's one
fucking.
full diamond.
Give me the chest plate.
They're digging up. They're
my
digging up in
God,
the.
bro.
Come to me. They're digging
Go,
up here.
crafting table, booster.
NPC teammates, bro.
Oh.
Just keep doing that. Be careful behind us. We're good.
Wait, they're not digging up anymore. That's just blocks.
I think they're probably up. Right here. They're right here. They're right here. What?
Anybody got more bows, by the way? Arrows, I mean?
No. Dude. Trying Obi. Okay. Where are they at?
I don't know.
Right here.
Hold on, booster. With their bow.
Move. I can list staff.
You have to wait for them to come up. Wait for them to come up. Over here. Look over here. Just cut them off. Yeah. Cut them off. Just follow me, guys. Yes. Good shit. Nice hit. It's fine. You boosted me. Good shit.
Nice. People behind us? I made a path.
Come to me. Stick
Yeah,
together.
I can make a path for people as well.
It's fine. Good NPC teammate, bro. Nice. Is it 18? 9, 8, 3, 2. Got him.
Oh, you stole it, bitch.
Sorry. I just lock in.
Just come fight.
Go fight these guys next.
It's fine.
Boost, yeah. No, we can boost his booster. It doesn't do damage to us.
Okay.
Go for the foot diamond. Just kill this guy. He sucks. What?
I'm making a path for the others.
Yeah, no.
Uh-oh. Very soft, man.
Not. Nope.
Oh my fucking god, bro.
That's fine.
Weirdo.
That's fine.
Go for his teammate.
There's one more kid at the top.
Yeah, just don't go on the...
The temple?
He's up. I'll
I see it.
I see him.
Can I boost myself up top? Wait, can I boost you up top? Wait, let's test this.
Please, please.
I wanted to test it, bro. I wanted to test it.
Don't let our teammate get the leggings, by the way.
24, 16, 16 Andre, 16, 15, 6.
I swear to God, my teammate just comes and loots, bro.
I got the head.
I just tried to fireball like in
Got him.
front of them so they get knocked backwards, but I don't know if
I just had to throw everything out. Yo, Chris, what's up, Chris? Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it.
Like, are
I
my
have three heads.
like
Do you have any rest
fireballs working or no?
I bet who? Res who?
Have any rest in?
Oh, Redstone, yeah.
Who?
I don't know.
Oh, Redstone, yeah. By the way, anybody can place animal? Can anybody place animal? Somebody?
I don't have info.
Animal? Hello? Oh, there we go. Nice. Thank you.
Please tell me our teammate's gonna die. Jar Star, like, where's he at? Just NPC teammate, bro.
Don't.
Dude, I'm getting so mad just for this teammate just being here next to us.
It's fine.
Oh, you don't understand.
Don't get yourself banned, bro. Don't get yourself banned. It's not worth it.
No, he's also team griefing. He just came and just, you know what I mean?
No, but like he can just steal the loot. I feel like that's just part of the game.
No,
like,
it's not. It's team griefing. What? If I see you kill someone and you just team come in and just loot?
Like, it's.
I know why you're talking to DVD Dart.
it's-
Bro, I'm not talking to him. He just has a. Someone in my chat said, "Why are we still talking to the DVD Lord?" Bro, he has a
Let's
bad
go
mic.
0-0. Let's go 0-0. Let's go 0-0.
We're trying.
Can we get back
We
to
told him.
0-0?
Yeah, let's go back to
Can we
sure.
go back to 0-0?
Yeah, let's go. No hate to him, man. Shout out Chris. I mean, shout out DVD, man.
Oh, people.
You get cents? 800 cents.
There's a kid
No,
hiding
800
right behind the mountain.
DPI. 800 DPI and I don't know my DPI. What? No, 800 DPI. I'll show you right now. I'll show you after this game. I'll show you my sense and shit.
This guy's going around the mountain, by the way, towards you guys, straight towards you guys.
Sorry that not everybody has. Bro. Okay.
He dug down.
Dug down. What?
Disgusting.
I don't. He might be trapping. Low key. This looks like a trap.
Wait, move. Back along, man.
Is it a trap? Oh, it's not a trap. Wait, you guys actually found out it's not a trap. You got yourself, Bandit. We can't help you here. Swim up. If you need help, just swim up. Yeah, you're gonna die, Jeff. Yeah, Jeff, you're gonna. Oh. Yeah, Jeff, you got so low there, bro.
Just has a bad way.
Anybody got arrows? Oh shit! Sorry.
Oh my god.
I'm sorry that not everyone has enough money like for a freaking good mic like you guys, bro.
Wait, anything you just said?
We told you.
can say
Yeah.
in game.
Oh, my bad. I was gonna say swim up. I can help you, but
Let's go
you
0-0
take that.
again.
Yeah.
Like
Wait,
champion.
Arctic team is still full, by the way.
This guy, bro. Yeah, we told him to mute up, bro. What are you talking about? We weren't being mean. We told him to mute. He did not mute. What? We're trying to be mean. We're being serious. If your teammate has a bad mic, I feel like you're entitled to tell someone to mute their mic.
How many gaps do you have? Any gaps?
12. You need gaps?
I have two.
Here, take.
I need gaps.
Oh, I have 8. You want to?
I gave some the booster.
I'm good.
Alright.
You should make a team of.
Okay.
Maybe.
I only have 4 arrows.
Pro.
There's nobody here. Where's the Arctic team?
Right, man. Go to this win, man. Booster, where you at?
I don't see anybody at all.
Booster?
This
What?
on the ground. I think
You're
it's
an actual corrupt YouTuber. Okay. Oh.
Ooh, what's happening? Is somebody
Someone-
private messaging you?
No. In my chat, the guy with the DVD guy with the microphone, we told like to mute up like 3 fucking times and just didn't mute. Came to my chat. He's like, "Well, I'm not fucking rich like you, dude. I'm not rich. What the fuck?
He's not right.
I fucking worked for my money, bro.
He's not wrong though. He's not wrong.
What do you mean, bro? No, like actually though, like this guy actually I think he's being serious. Because I'm a corrupt YouTuber because I have a lot of money apparently. And apparently I'm a rich YouTuber.
You are though.
I'm not fucking rich, bro. I fucking worked, man.
You're rich.
I'm sorry that I worked my ass off. Wait, where? Where?
Like right under where you guys were
Oh,
standing.
I see that.
Is that Arctic? I don't even know what team that is. No, that's pink. What the fuck? These guys have been mining the entire game, by the way. What? You're just going in?
It's 2 guys.
You're just going in? Okay. I'm going in with you. You see the... Oh my goodness.
I got this guy by myself. Don't worry. I'll get this guy. Don't worry. Okay, Jeff, like nice. I got this guy myself.
More people rolling in. More people rolling in. More people rolling.
Okay, come down. Come down the mountain. Come down the thing. You got this.
Hit him. Please. Let me get
Yo, Big Daddy Frog. Big Daddy Frog.
Okay. Booster, you good? Can you come down, Booster?
Yeah, I'm good. He headed.
Come down. Okay. Well, you guys,
I am down.
Oh. Wait. Okay, I'm full diamond. Okay. Coming. Oh, I see them. Thanks, Jeff. Oh, yeah, Parver's cannon. I can eat your head. Want me to eat your head? Call that out.
Help.
Me too. Eat your head?
Come on.
How is there like a million people?
Give me that snipe, boy.
No, I don't think so.
I think so.
No, I don't think so.
Hello, Andreas.
Hello, who's that?
Andreas.
Hello, Andreas.
Yo, give me that snipe, bro. Oh my god, my dog just messed me up.
No. Do you have extra gaps, by the way?
Nice, W snipe hit. Welcome. Bye.
25.
Gaps?
I don't have any scraps, bro. I can give you some right now. We're chasing a guy. For sure. You need healing? If you come to me, I can give you.
I'm going up. Really to me.
You need another
Do you have
jihad.
any gaps?
Yeah, I'm eating a gap right now. I get a gap. Steal it from me. 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 Steal it from me.
I would like 1v1.
Yeah, we got you on the 1v1. Yep. All right, just okay. Yeah, let me 1v1 him.
Okay, go.
Yep.
I'm
Come
watching.
on, I'm trying 1v1, bro. Here's a 1v1.
I need
Bruh.
the gap first. Let
Okay,
me
then.
try.
No, you wanted a 1v1. All right, let's get it. Nice.
22.
You stole everything from me.
21. 15. 13.
Oh, my teammate's not 1v1.
Bro! This is not 1v1.
I'm briefing now.
rip.
I'm briefing now. Team briefed.
Fine, done, Jeff. Kill him. Shot him. It's not 18. You're gonna try to just don't eat G-heads on this guy. He has a katana. Nice. Good lava, man. Good lava, man.
Nice.
Bye, Natalie.
Didn't even cheat it?
No, we're good.
He had some maybe good sharpness on the. Oh, sharpness 3 emerald.
Not 8.
8.
You bow him. I have an arrow. There you go. No, 8, 6. You probably just TP on him, kill him here.
Nah, I'm not.
Easy, man.
Got 3 chest
Don't
plates.
don't need any healing. We got this. Actually, I'm gonna do a gap. Hit a gap.
G-head, let me know.
No, I'm good. We don't need. Don't G-head. Don't G-head, bro. You eat the G-head.
I didn't.
I'm just kidding. I just wanted him to turn back.
Bro, you're confusing me this game, bro. You're just saying so many weird things.
Oh fuck! The scythe is over there.
I got the stuff. I got it.
You got it. Nice.
You want it? I don't want it.
Yeah, sure.
Where are you, by the way? Are you still down in the cave?
No, motherfucker. We came up. I was helping you.
Yeah, I also got a guy.
Wait, Booster, can you get ice for me?
Did you pick up the pufferfish
Yeah, I
cannon?
can.
Did I get the what?
Where are you?
The pufferfish
Where are
cannon.
I did not know.
Alright.
Looking hot to the restroom, yeah.
Get yourself lift stabs, guys.
I don't have any fucking. Oh, I need a honeycomb. I can see one actually.
Yeah.
Oh, multi-shot.
For you. And you need
Yep.
the diamonds as well.
Actually, just need iron.
Wait.
Pro 3 iron right there.
I'm going to 0-0 again. Maybe I'll come across some people.
Backwater.
You only dropped one of the Arctic guys?
Which can you get to me? Wait, Danja, do you have iron? Iron. PC teammate. Give me iron, bro.
1 minute.
Which come to me?
I don't know if I'll make it to you.
Fuck. Is that you right there? I see you.
Or- Okay.
Oh, I don't have obby. Fuck.
I have Obby.
Oh, oh, there you go. Making this.
I
Yep.
have string as well.
Iron
If you need it for...
Wait, where'd you go? Wait, what?
I'm near this
You still
fence.
need die?
don't know where
Oh,
you
I see.
are.
Okay. I see you. Come here.
Are you mad?
Just-
Who are you? Oh, you're there.
No, I'm Andres.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Orbit.
I don't know where you are, bro.
I see the ice and the Ice.
We'll make some ice.
That's not the dice you need.
Here you go.
Oh, nice. Double lich stuff.
Do you have candle? Candle.
No, I don't have candle.
I have string. I have string. I have string.
Didn't.
There's a string and a honeycomb. Did you get honeycomb?
Can we go for ice deep?
They stacked?
Anybody need a sharp 3 emerald sword, by the way? Anybody want a sharp 3 emerald sword?
I want the emerald sword.
Okay, I'm gonna throw it out to the left. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
See what they have first. What do you guys think they have?
Last middle.
Oh my god, they're...
irons.
Oh my god.
My god. Okay.
What do they have? What do they have?
Wait, gotta...
I'm going middle.
Oh,
Bro, why are you going after me, bro?
One.
He kills. Nice. Oh my god, your puffer's cannon here.
Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Oh shit. Dude, come on.
Oh. Oh my god.
Nope. Nope. Okay. No.
Oh my god, Andre.
Nope. Nope.
What if he just TNT markers us right now?
Wait.
Juice.
Two people left.
Oi.
The other left.
God damn, okay. Where's the last guy? Mini skydiver. Just had a great nether rush.
Did you say Taylor?
Jeez. 9 kills. What kills everyone have?
I had 5. I was just to support that game. I was literally shooting lich staff from like 5 million black flags.
Is CBK ready?
GG's, Andre.
GG's, Dandruff. Bye, Dandruff.
Oh, he's playing solo.
Okay. He's in the Discord, right? Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he has 24. He has 17 people left in his, so we can just chill and wait, I guess.
We can just wait.
Yeah, we can just wait
But
and talk.
what's up, chat?
Like, what do you want? What do you? Yeah, exactly.
What?
What?
Hello. I'm gonna go pee. I'm gonna go pee. I'm back. Yo, chat, be right back. I'm gonna go pee. You do setting? Oh yeah, sure. Here's my settings. Yeah, that's my deep distance sense. I have 800 DPI, and then yeah, anything else? I'll just be right back. 1 sec.